It's Friday.
It is.
We made it through another week.
As the Easy Beats once said, on Monday, I'll have Friday on my mind.
Did you know this is the first full week of 2020, Rob?
Me?
Yeah.
Or Robert?
All I know is that once again, it was a week that Star Trek did not leave me unscathed.
Oh, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to definitely talk about that. Of course, you see right below me here, our illustrious guest, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Say hello, sir.
Hello. It is always a pleasure and an honor to be with you, lovely people.
And hanging with us from the Red Shirts podcast, we have Q Storm and Big Sexy, if I could talk. Please say hello, gentlemen.
Hello, everyone. Can I just say I am kind of like stargazing here with Mr. Burnett. If he had anything to do with TNG, I am like, okay, I'm kind of fanboying here.
Well, I mean, I made the documentaries. The documentaries are on the Blu-rays along with Roger Lay. I didn't work on the actual show. I tried though.
You did more than I did. So
he did work on Prelude to Axanar as well.
Yes, I did. A lot of good that did me.
I know, but
still. I'm proud of Prelude to Axanar. I mean, I think Prelude to Axanar is actually very cool.
Yes.
And of course, go ahead.
Oh, I like the Vulcan scene too. I thought that was cool.
And of course, you're the director of Free Enterprise, which needs a Blu-ray badly.
Oh, dude, I know. I was talking about that today. Somebody asked me about that today, and I feel like I'm disappointed every day. I'm working on it. I put out a 4K disc. I do it.
You could just slip me some files.
I don't. The thing is, there's no high definition version.
I know. That's
I wish there were.
Of it. That's the biggest bummer of them all. And I want to get my hands on the original cut because I think I've only seen the original cut. Because what version was on Stars?
That was the original cut.
Okay, I think that's the only one I've seen.
Yeah.
So I want to rewatch that first and then see this one. That's why I've not watched it yet.
Yeah, I mean, there's a longer version that came out on the Anchor Bay.
I do have that one.
DVD.
See, yeah, I just bought that one. Remember, I sent you a picture of it. I haven't watched it yet, though.
It's a better transfer and a better sound mix. But I really want to go in and really redo the whole film. I mean, I would tighten it and change it just because I've learned not very much. Most people wouldn't even notice, but I would just make it better and there's more coverage. And one day,
I do recommend the film, though, if you guys could find it out there. And one day, hopefully, we'll get a better release. But like I said, I want to do a comparison. I might even do like a review video of it and everything. Maybe even get you on talking about it. But until then, let's talk about something else like short treks and more. Also, we want to say hi to Big Sexy. Where's that Big Sexy voice?
Well, I am here. And excuse me. I'm here and ready to go.
There you go.
That's a pretty sexy voice.
It's been a long time since we've had the Red Shirt guys on, so we're so glad to have you guys with us. And of course, Rob, why don't you introduce you know who?
Yes. Your favorite YouTube harpy. She has an Emmy, an ESPY, a Tony, a Bammy, a BAFTA. She has an Earl and an OBE, which makes her an earlobe.
He's working on that EGOT.
Yes. Number 42 in your program, number 1 in your heart, Miss Mecca Random.
Ooh, you've been working on that a little bit.
You better.
Damn.
That was pretty good.
That was. So, yes, it's been an interesting week in Hollywood. We've got a Howling remake on the way from Muschietti, the guy who made the It films. Did you hear about that, Robert?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about where I'm at.
I mean, I love The Howling. Joe Dante's original The Howling. Robert Picardo. Let me give you a piece of my mind as he fishes out a bullet from his forehead. I mean,
why doesn't he just make his own werewolf movie? Just leave it alone. That's where I'm at.
Or adapt one of the great modern werewolf novels is a book by Glenn Duncan called The Last Werewolf. That is a phenomenal book, and it actually became a trilogy. But when I first read the first one, it wasn't yet. I mean, there's so much.
Wasn't The Howling a book originally?
Yes, it was written by Gary Bradner.
That's what I thought.
Yep. He also wrote a book called The Brain Eaters.
Now that sounds like a zombie book.
Which I actually have right over there.
There you go. And we had, what else do we have for quick news? Oh, the Doctor Strange director stepped away.
Yeah.
Yeah, more of the same when it comes to that. I mean, I'm not like pissed or upset or worried because it's Kevin Feige.
I'm a
Feige
little
is-
worried. I'm a little worried because they were going to go a little more horror with that, and I'm wondering, did they not now? Are they stepping back from that?
I think it has more to do with casting. You want to know why? Right
Mhm.
after they announced that, they announced a bunch of casting news. Like they
Mm.
were, yeah. So I'm thinking that may have more to do with it. And that
Yeah.
he's still staying on as an executive.
Well, that doesn't really.
You know,
Yeah.
it's I don't know if you know anything more about that, Robert, or
I don't. I mean, I think, when something like that happens, I think it probably has something to do with the fact that this next wave of Marvel movies, especially Doctor Strange, they say it's directly tied into WandaVision, which is going to be the first streaming series that we see from Marvel debut, WandaVision and Captain America, or Falcon and Winter Soldier. And I think that maybe there's a direction going that they wanted to go in, but somebody said earlier, which one you said earlier, that it might be because it was going more horror. I could see something like that happening, like somebody wanting to do one thing. I mean, the movie's called The Multiverse of Madness. I mean, maybe Scott Derrickson wanted to have more madness than Disney wanted, and that's usually why people part ways.
it could be. I was gonna say, did he say something other? All I heard was just creative differences as always.
He hasn't said anything, and I wouldn't imagine that you'll hear more than that, because he probably I love the first Doctor Strange movie, and I thought it was a lot of fun, and I just think in Hollywood, the most professional people in Hollywood don't air their dirty laundry, and sort of creative differences is a way that it's something you can say where it can mean a lot of things. And I've talked to people that it actually, they did have creative differences, or it became something more ugly, and it doesn't behoove anyone. I mean, movie making can be a very cantankerous push and pull, there's a lot of static that can happen, and that's just part of the process. And it doesn't really do anybody any good when you take that out into public, unless of course, you're somebody who really enjoys taking that kind of thing out in public. And I think there's people we know just like that.
Well, and Mecca, you said you were a little worried, and I'd like to hear why. But I'm just going to say this before you do. I'm not worried in the sense that we've only seen this a couple times happen in the past when it comes to Marvel. And it seems like generally Feige's good about catching this early on. And I mean, you can speak to the films that it's happened to before, whether or not they were good or better afterwards. We don't know because we'll never have seen the other versions. But I mean, we've got a video about the whole Ant-Man situation, and that's an understandable situation. It took him honestly, if you look at it from one direction, it took Edgar Wright over 8 years to get that movie made. It was something like that. So I mean, after a while, you got to move on. And by the time they probably got around to it, he's like, this doesn't fit the Marvel universe anymore. I mean, that was kind of the bottom line there. And when it came to Patty Jenkins, that was, I don't know what went down behind the scenes there. So I can't speak to that, but
I was going to say, I'm not so much worried about someone stepping away, because like you just said, Ant-Man, one of my favorite Marvel films, Rogue One, one of my favorite Star Wars films. I'm more concerned about them taking Doctor Strange into the horror realm, because I'm thinking about New Mutants. New Mutants was made by Fox. That has nothing to do with. No, I know. Yeah, I'm surprised they're even releasing it as New Mutants, to be honest with you. And as far as I heard, they were trying to disconnect everything they could from the X-Men. But then I heard another rumor that the version that's getting released isn't even the version that has all the reshoots. It was the original version that tested really well. I don't know if you heard about that, Robert, or not, or what.
Yeah, no, it looks. I mean, I first of all, I love the storyline that it's based on, and I've talked a lot about how I was a huge fan of Moon Knight when Doug Mensch was writing it and Bill Sienkiewicz was drawing it, and I watched Bill Sienkiewicz sort of evolve as an artist, and then he went from Moon Knight to New Mutants and drew the Demon Bear storyline that Chris Claremont wrote that the movie's actually based on. And it's very. Well, you didn't like that storyline?
You know what, Robert? We're gonna have to disagree on this one, because back in 84, 83, 85, right around there, when that story came out, I thought the Sienkiewicz artwork was just ghastly. I could not stand it on that book, and it got me off the book.
See, I can understand that, because it was a radical departure, especially from where the book was.
Really was.
I mean, I'm a huge Sienkiewicz fan, And I thought for that particular storyline too, in general, because it was all a lot of what was going on in your mind and all that, I thought it worked really well. But I completely look, you were not the only one, sir. There's a lot of people that were not fans of that. And it was such a radical departure from what was seen, especially in the New Mutants up to that point. I just really like Sienkiewicz's work. And look, if you continued and followed what he did later in things like Elektra Assassin, I mean, using mixed media, and then he did his book Stray Toasters. He was definitely radical. He was in terms of what people were used to.
I never got a chance to read Stray Toasters, but I did, and I do have the Elektra Assassin. Now, you look at that, and you mentioned mixed media. That looks like it spawned David Mack.
Oh, yeah.
Side by side.
Well, the Elektra Assassin has actually had a very good benefited greatly from having the story by Frank Miller as well.
Yeah.
And actually, another great Frank Miller Bill Sienkiewicz collaboration was the Daredevil graphic novel.
Yes, it was
in '86 or so, I think it was.
Yep. And, Sienkiewicz also drew the adaptation of David Lynch's Dune for Marvel.
Oh.
And I thought, again, that was more of it was more of his New Mutant style, but I thought it really suited that book pretty well. But I that's why I think that I did love that storyline. And I think I was really intrigued, especially this new trailer that dropped this week. I'm like, this looks really good. Like, I really want to see this. I hope it's good.
Well, we all hope it's good. Nobody goes into these movies wanting them to be bad.
No.
Nelson Shirata sends us a $2 super chat. Then I got to go find Matt G's super chat. I guess he sent us one before we started, and I missed it. What's wrong with a superhero horror film? Nothing really. The only thing I think I have an issue with this one, I think Mecca said it before too, is looks a little too Nightmare on Elm Street 3 to me, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, but that was awesome.
That's a great movie, but
Warriors is awesome.
One of my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street movies, but
I don't want to see it as a Marvel movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it could be okay. I'm not saying that. This did check well from what I remember. That's what I was saying. That's what I could never understand is why they went to do reshoots anyway, from what I heard. So,
But remember, the Demon Bear storyline predates Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Does it?
It does.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, we also got a $5 super chat from Captain Hare.
Yes, we did, and I'm trying to find the one from Matt G. So I got to go find that one here too.
Okay, well, I mean, let me take care of the one from Captain Hare.
Yeah, let me get that one up here.
So, if ST Season 3 really features the fall of the Federation, how long before Mikey Spock reenacts the ending of Planet of the Apes? First 5 minutes?
Damn yous!
Oh, Mikey Spock.
But it's gotten to the point now where when I watch that when I watch the trailer for a preview or whatever it is from any kind of Alex Kurtzman Star Trek production, I check off, okay, Iron Man 3, I check off what he's aping on or ripping off or whatever. I mean, it's really I don't want to say the hack is an unfair term, but
copy and paste is what I used to do.
Like, very copy and paste. Very, he's not
C's get degrees mentality.
He doesn't preclude himself from lifting other source material. I'll say that from various.
Not an original bone in his little head, right? This guy, it just bothers me.
Robert, did you ever see Stardust Memories by Woody Allen?
Oh my God, I love Stardust Memories.
Do you remember when
Sharon Stone's in Stardust Memories?
Yes. Do you remember that scene where he's at a panel? He's doing a panel for his new movie, and the guy thinks he's going to ask him a gotcha question. Don't you think this scene is a very derivative from Vincent Price's House of Wax? Derivative? No, we stole it. You know, that's pretty much. I mean, please, let's just not mince words here. Yeah, there's if there was such a if he could be prosecuted, I think Alex Kurtzman would be doing a hard time for theft.
But he doesn't steal well.
No,
like if you're gonna steal something, it was like this short trek. I mean, it was this week's short trek. Was there anything original about it at all? I mean, I'd seen it on every.
Might as well get into that. Yeah.
By the way, can we stop? And there is some big news that will. I don't know if it's going to affect the Orville or not.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we were talking about that a little bit.
Yeah, we were gonna. If you want to talk about that deal first,
I won't bring it up then.
No, that's fine.
Seth
MacFarlane got a deal with Universal. I don't know if that's gonna. And I was bringing this up just before you came in, actually, Robert. When we were talking before the show, yeah, I'm wondering if this is going to affect his overall deal with Fox. I mean, of course, we know for now Family Guy and Orville are okay, but that doesn't mean Orville's going to get it picked up for another season. That doesn't mean that the other shows he's working on are going to continue on. Disney may decide they don't want to be in the Seth MacFarlane business. You never know that. I mean, he doesn't exactly fit in with their narrative there. I mean, I don't know what you guys think about that. It seems like you kind of are in the same boat I am, Robert.
Well, he's not going to go to ABC. He's going to NBC and Universal.
Yeah, that's what I mean. NBC Universal. Yeah. So I mean, it's a completely different network, completely different studio. I
mean, it's a very, very rich, very lucrative deal. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. MacFarlane and his fuzzy. I don't know did you read the Deadline article here?
No, I didn't get a chance, so I just heard about it.
MacFarlane. Did you?
Yeah, I got the Variety article up actually.
Yeah, MacFarlane and his Fuzzy Door production company will develop and produce TV projects for both NBC Universal and outside outlets, including NBC Universal's upcoming streaming service, Peacock. I hear MacFarlane, who has a very strong brand, is envisioned as one of the anchors of the new service, which is expected to be a priority for Fuzzy Door Entertainment's development efforts.
Interesting.
So he has a piece of the
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah, I was wondering how deep of a deal it was.
So
what could he bring? He wouldn't bring. I think you guys mentioned this. He wouldn't take Orville over with that deal.
It depends on who owns what.
Yeah, who lets him.
See, the thing is, I remember like Family Guy did some bouncing around, so he might actually own that.
What if they give him part of the Battlestar Galactica, whatever reboot that they're doing, sequel?
To me,
a Galactica reboot.
Yeah, it's like well, they say it's a reboot, but then they say it's not a reboot, but then they say it's like a spin-off or something, or they've backtracked a few times on it. So I'm like keeping an eye out for what it is before.
See, here's the thing. I don't see Seth MacFarlane as a big as a guy NBC would really try the court, because I've seen what they've done to somebody like Dan Harmon.
Right.
Yeah. Dan Harmon, I mean, talk about a guy who doesn't fit into any corporate culture. They couldn't make Community is one of my favorite sitcoms ever.
Yeah, but Seth MacFarlane's like 10 times bigger than Harmon.
Well, yeah, understandable, but they fired him from his own show.
And he also was jerking off in front of people. Seth MacFarlane hasn't done that, as far as I know. So there's a little bit of a difference.
Okay.
The whole thing is, I mean, their sensibility, their comedic sensibility is sort of similar. You know, they did a whole episode of Community as a G.I. Joe cartoon.
I think
brilliant. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not talking about, I mean, you're comparing a little bit more. It feels like apples to oranges to me. I mean, yes, I see why you're comparing them, because they are very similar.
Yeah.
But Seth MacFarlane is somebody to where I see them hailing him as, their big new star to create new shows, whether they're animated, sitcoms. I mean, this guy can run the gambit. He's even produced that documentary, the what was it called? Which one?
There was one of the loudest voice in the room.
No. The one about the galaxy and shit.
Cosmos.
Yeah.
That was brilliant. Yeah. Well, that was brilliant. But here's a guy though who is not afraid to bite the hand that feeds him. And really, and he's taken open shots at Disney and at Fox. And I mean, NBC is not necessarily, I wouldn't call them uptight, but they've been known to be a very kind of restrictive corporate culture. Whether or not they're trying to change that, I don't know yet. And I've actually pitched something to NBC, actually, Robert, if you don't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they actually had a thing with submissions. I pitched my it was a wacky kind of college sitcom, like a single camera comedy. I called it FU because whenever you needed help, and it's based on my own experience, whenever you needed help with anything, FU. That was their answer. So I named it after an adult theater, the Fairmont Theater. That's not too far from me. It's in the middle of a residential area. It's just there. Everybody knows it's there. Nobody's tried to. It's sort of like an institution in the area. So I figured that was the ultimate insult, naming the college I went to and based this on after a pornographic theater. So
I would have watched that.
We got 2 more super chats. We got the Matt G one from the beginning. He asked thoughts on Neil Peart.
Great drummer. I'm not a big fan of Rush, but great drummer. 67, not that old. So it
sucks because he lost a wife and a daughter also, like really closely together. Then he got brain cancer.
Yeah.
Not that
yeah. Brilliant guy, though. I mean, this is a guy who basically was, they threw him out as the lyricist because he's an avid reader, reading 2 books a week or something, and or maybe even more than that. Avid reader. He basically adapted The Fountainhead, and it is probably one of the best songs I've ever heard in my life. 2112, of course. Yeah, really not. It sucks. I mean, it sucks. Everybody's.
I was looking at 5.1 audio albums, and a lot of the Rush ones, or if not all of them, are on there. Now I wished I probably would have bought them last night because they're probably going to quadruple in price by tomorrow. But yeah, anyway, Nelson Street sent us another $2. Any issue with Dark Knight Returns movie? I have no issue. We kind of got. I thought that's what we're going to get with Batman v Superman in a way, but
yeah. It would be cool.
Not with Robert Pattinson starring. No, I don't want to see that.
Oh, that's not what's going to happen with him starring. Hell no, he's too young for that.
Where do you get your 5.1 audio from?
The albums, or just
I
just look around on Amazon and eBay. They did DVD audio years ago. They've been doing some stuff on Blu-ray now. I'll pick up sometimes if I have the money, I'll pick up the massive special editions where they have 5 CDs and a Blu-ray, all the outtakes and the album put in Dolby Atmos or 5.1 surround sound. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's dive into kind of what we're all anxious to talk about.
The Beatles have been doing it a lot lately, the last few years.
The White Album's done like that.
Are we going to talk about the Space Camp remake?
Oh my God! No.
Disney Plus is going to do a Space Camp remake. That's what we're going to talk about, isn't it?
Why?
No.
Is NASA even still a thing? No, I'm just kidding.
Come on,
of course it is, but I'm just. No, I mean, really,
not in the
way
that they could. It was so not
of its time.
Well, no, it was not really a plausible scenario of the time.
It was a cute little story, but yeah.
We don't even have a space shuttle anymore.
Didn't that movie come out on the heels of a really big film like E.T. or something?
Yeah, it was right after E.T. It was 1986-ish or 85.
It was Last Starfighter on the heels of the last.
I would say that and Star Wars are kind of more built on. It was probably, when they pitched it, it was probably picture Goonies in space. It's probably how it was pitched.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was so implausible. I could not go to see it. And I was a big 80s movie. I was into movies back then.
Oh, I love it. I was a NASA kid. I loved Space Camp. Still love it. I don't want to.
I didn't like the Goonies either. I hated the Goonies too. So.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
All right.
We won't hate you too much. We do have a couple more super chats though. You're not the only one. I heard somebody else say that not too long ago. Did you say that, Robert, or no? Somebody did.
Me?
Yeah, if I say Robert, I mean you. Sorry.
Oh, did I say which? What?
Did you say you didn't like Goonies so much? Somebody just said it.
I hated Goonies.
Okay, you were the one I knew. I just heard somebody say.
I'm in great company.
Oh my god! Even Tallulah, I said Goonies, and my dog is freaking out. She's like,
"Yeah, but see, weren't you a little like just?"
Yes, I was a little older.
For that?
Yeah, I was like 6 when it came out.
I'm not a Goonies Forever person at all.
Okay, I knew I just heard somebody talking about it, and I thought it was you. All right,
well,
Tiberius Monk.
Rob and I are about in the same age group, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, that might be why.
Goonies is horrific.
It is garbage.
Oh, sorry, Tallulah.
Now you got the dogs all looked up.
Tiberius Monk, thoughts on the big three sci-fi pillars: Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who, all beginning new decade broken and losing fans to corporate influence.
Well, that's kind of what we're going to get into here in a little bit. So,
2 pounds beyond visual. Kurtzman is taking Stewart down with the ship. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, Stewart doesn't even he hasn't a clue what's going on.
I completely agree. I completely agree with that.
Palpatine's Magic Baby Makers, $5. Speaking of remakes, have you guys seen what Thundercats Roar turned into? Yes, I did, and it's abysmal, and that's all I'll say about it for now. I'm not even a Thundercats fan, and I'm like, how could you do this? Who thought this was a good idea?
What do they do to Thundercats?
You don't want to know.
Okay, first of all, I don't know what they've changed since, but it started out, and this was one of our first biggest videos on After Dark. Rob and I ranting about, and I think Mecca might have been involved too. I can't remember now. But
like 17 minutes about
17 minutes about Thundercats, and neither one of us are that big of fans. But this Thundercats Roar thing is the most horrific looking thing that we ever saw, and it was this Cal State art, like thick. Oh my god! What was the name of that show that came out that was that style? That everybody.
Yeah. Oh my god! And I watched about 4 minutes of this thing, and I said, "That's it. I can't take any more. This is."
It and then they did this. Then they did the same kind of thing with Ninja Turtles, and of course, the Ninja Turtle fan base is just like Star Wars and Star Trek. So you have the same problem there, where you have this core fan base who will love anything that has the turtles on it, and that's where I had like dealt with all this stuff, like. You know, them ruining our franchise before this with Ninja Turtles. And I got in so many fights with Ninja Turtle fans and kicked out of so many groups because I hated the remakes, hated them. And then I hate this new one too. It's just ridiculous.
Well,
it makes the old 80s cartoon look amazing because of how stupid it is. But anyway.
All I'll say is that if this Thundercats really is for little kids, then obviously you don't think very much of them. If you think that this is the kind of slop that
it's the same kind of thing with Ninja Turtles and almost to a point with that new She-Ra, some of the stuff I've heard. But the problem with the new She-Ra is more of the pushed politics. See, but you'll have people argue about that one too. So
all right. Well,
but speaking of pushed politics, why don't we get on why we're really here? Let's get on the whole Star Trek business. We got a few things to talk about. Let's get this Shat Trek out of the way first. Or Shark Trek, or whatever the hell anybody's calling them anymore.
Oh, that short. Don't you get me started. I want to. You know what those girls did to each other. I want to do that to the writer of this. In Minecraft. This one pissed me off.
Who wrote this one? Actually,
someone who's got a date with a seedy end of my writing crop.
Somebody wrote it.
It doesn't. No, it just seems like it just. It's an after-school special gone horribly awry, really.
Yeah, that's good. Yep.
Oh. It's like going. What they're doing to Star Trek now is like, like if you go and say, hey, you know what, I want to go watch Gilligan's Island. They got a new Gilligan's Island show. Let's see what that is. And Ginger and Marianne are making out, and they have the professor's head on a pike, and they're boiling Gilligan alive. That is what they're doing to Star Trek.
It's like what Riverdale's doing to Archie Andrews.
Oh, I don't want to see it. I don't want to know. I was an Archie kid, and I refuse to watch it. Well,
here's what I don't get about Archie is Archie's whole appeal was it was kind of like this children's kind of
It was for
rose
kids.
tinted version of high school, right?
It was a very
They're actually
1950s
turning it into
bubblegum.
90210 now. Yeah, thank you. A bubblegum kind of version.
Yeah, it was a bubblegum version of it because it was 1950s and it kind of kept
prototype
those values.
Saved by the Bell in a way.
Like a Happy Days type of thing. You know.
Yeah, and it kept those values even throughout the eras. Even throughout the 60s, it was still very clean cut. You know, it was clean cut, family friendly. That's what it was.
I got my mic muted. Archie is an idealized late 50s, early 60s teenage world. But anyway, this short trek. Okay, you know what? When it starts out, I'm a big Bowie fan. I don't know if anybody else is a Bowie fan. Mecca, you're not.
Oh, hell yeah.
It would have been his 73rd birthday.
Absolutely. Happy birthday.
I actually met David Bowie.
Did you?
What?
I saw
when?
You did?
Yeah, he was one of the pioneers of music and live streaming, and the production company I was working with at the time, we went to the Orpheum in Boston and we set up all the cameras to do the live stream of his concert.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
I was right up. I could see that both his eyes were not the same color.
Oh yeah. He had one blue eye and one green eye, right?
You know, I did not know that until like years, not that long ago. And then now that I know it, I see it all the time. But before that, I never noticed. It wasn't until HD.
Yeah. I only saw Bowie once, and that was with Tin Machine. I saw him in a club with in front of 700 people, which is actually pretty cool to think about it. Yeah. But anyway, so okay, it starts out, the kid literally misses the bus. She literally misses the bus. It's a shuttle, but it's a bus. Come on. Now the whole slow down
shuttle is a bus.
That's a metaphor for the show. It's just missed the bus.
Yeah.
Or it's on the short bus.
Oh yeah, we've been there.
Yeah, I've got an emoji for that.
That's why we used to call these short bus treks. Oh, sorry.
Where's my picture?
I was gonna say, doesn't an energy shield goes up or something, right?
Yeah. Why do you want to keep the kid why putting an energy shield up at the bus stop? I don't understand. That's what I don't understand. Yeah, to deliberately make her late. That's the only way to do it. It's a justify as a plot device.
Did she live in a cage? I don't get it. I didn't get that.
I don't know. So, that's to me the most frustrating part is when you can't explain certain parts of the plot, and it just becomes because reasons.
Yeah.
You know.
There you go, Tom.
Oh, you're making. Oh.
There's this constant back and forth between the two of them.
That'll be my thumbnail, I think, because I don't know about Copa if I can put kids on the thumbnail.
Oh my gosh.
I like the patch on the tire too. It's perfect.
Whoever took the time to do that, bravo.
Yeah, that was one of Seraph's. So
okay.
Yeah, he also did my little Mecca.
So this whole thing,
make that a shirt.
Back and forth. Yeah, so this whole back and forth.
I don't know if it's good enough or big enough quality, but
so there's this whole back and forth between the two of them, and they're going back. I thought one of them was going to get shoved into a locker at one point, but that would have been cool because that's a typical kind of.
Well, was this before or after? They were just brutally beating the crap out of each other.
Star Trek: The After School Special.
I'm surprised she didn't get a broom and pull a freaking. Well, you saw that one probably, Tom, with the what's her name?
Well, the last one I watched was before the Tribble. I did not watch the Tribble.
It was brutal. It was brutal.
I did not watch anything before that I did. After that I didn't. I did not watch the Tribble one or anything after.
Oh,
that's what
I didn't think they would stoop lower into making an after school special that could have been just about on any science fiction show ever made or any TV show ever made for that matter. Gosh, let's have teenagers or young girls that are being bullied and teach them a lesson, as if that hasn't been the subject of countless other shows before. It's just this time it's in the future.
What was the motivation? The first thing that happens, the first encounter, the alien girl, I believe, she gets her book bag knocked out of her hands. Why? Yeah. Why did that happen?
She just bumped into, kids. She just got bumped into, which was purely an accident.
I thought that they were trying to be friends too for a little bit, and then they started beating each other. Like the one girl was like drawing a picture of her. Was that?
I mean, my problem with this is if kids have a beef with one another, why is it in the last 10 years of Star Trek, whenever we see children, they're not acting out doing something interesting in a sci-fi context hundreds of years in the future. They do things like literally steal a car, or they carry book bags and they bang on each other.
Or listen to Beastie Boys.
They listen to Beastie Boys, or there's Bowie songs playing. I mean, it is so uncreative.
Well, not only that, you stop and think about that for a minute. If they're trying to be a badass, that would be like somebody today stealing a car and listening to Mozart.
Right, or stealing, no, it'd be stealing a horse-drawn carriage because
or, yeah, a horse-drawn carriage.
Oh, €300 car. Like, and what's so
listening to Buddy Holly. Okay, I'll be a little bit more.
It's just I don't understand. Like, why isn't there any effort made to extrapolate what kids in the future might be doing? How might they be different? How would we learn differently?
Oh, they take a shuttle to school.
Yeah. Why aren't they beaming?
I know, they can just like transport everywhere.
Well, not if they're just getting. Why are they even leaving their house?
Yeah.
I mean,
good point.
I mean, it's just so unimaginative, and it's what I can't stand. Here's what really bothers me. We have a lot of great writing on television and genre programming just this year. Whether you're watching anything from For All Mankind, or The Expanse, or The Boys, or things, Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance, there's a lot of great science fiction and fantasy and even horror writing being done on TV. And the flagship of all of this should be Star Trek. Star Trek should be the creme de la creme, and all we get are warmed over images. I mean, it is so frustrating to watch a show that has not been. It's like nobody reads science fiction who writes for that show. Nobody watches any cutting edge science fiction. Nobody has anything to say unless they take it away from something else. And I'm like,
yeah,
how is that? How have we come to this? It's the most expensive television show probably ever made, ever in the history of television.
And we'll talk about that in a little bit too.
Just the writing is this was so embarrassing. I mean, you could have done something. Give me a situation where two kids are dealing with a science fiction concept in the context of learning. What would you do? I mean, this episode, aside from the fact that it took place on Mars or whatever, it could have been something I watched in the 70s. And there was it betrays itself every single time. The writing is so pedestrian. And
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, please.
You're absolutely right. And okay. Listen, I'm an older guy. I make no apology for that. And I know Roddenberry, when Berman took over, Roddenberry was still an elder statesman, but, Roddenberry's ideals were needed to be molded a little bit, but still the foundation was what made Star Trek was that human beings found a way to overcome all of their differences, their pettiness and all this stuff. And yet we see these kids acting like brats that we might see today.
Yeah, exactly.
So think about the richness. Think about the richness of the writing of the relationship between DS9, the two kids,
Jake and Nog.
I mean, you don't have to create manufactured drama like they did here just to see them get together at the end because of the crisis. You can just have natural fucking characters.
Well, here's the problem.
None of those people who are writing for the show, with the exception of Kirsten Beyer, have ever watched Deep Space Nine.
Well, I was just going to say there's that. And the other problem is thinking is hard. These people don't want to think. So they just keep stealing shit from other places, and Kurtzman don't stop them. Nobody else stops them. And I'm sure people like Kristen Beyer just either sit there silently because they know if they do say anything, they're going to rock the boat, or they have said stuff and just shut up, And that's one thing I've heard time and time again is if you want to work on Star Trek, the last thing you tell them is you are a Star Trek fan. And the only reason I can see that is they just don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with somebody who's going to tell them how it should be with they just want to do whatever willy-nilly because that's what these writers want to do anymore.
Well, but beyond that, it's not even about Star Trek. I mean, Star Trek, even the original series told stories that were great stories, even if you weren't, even if they weren't. Balance of Terror, which is essentially a naval combat story transposed to space. If you told that story in other genres or other time periods about captains playing cat and mouse over a frontier, whether it could have been in the Old West, that story where you see these two commanders on opposing sides, both of whom are troubled, and they have their duty and their responsibility, but they also know what they're doing may or may not be right. Those stories exist. They're eternal stories. They're not just Star Trek stories. And the story that we got by that very definition, you should say the story about those two little girls is the same kind of thing. But that was like the kindergarten version of it. There was no subtlety, there was no nuance, there was no real character, and there certainly wasn't anything imaginative about it. I mean, like you just said earlier, Big Sexy, what the hell are they doing telling this kind of a story? This is not a sophisticated story. This isn't even directed at your audience. I mean, if they're trying to, if I was an 8-year-old, this would be a story I might be interested in. But you're talking about one of the most savvy and sophisticated audiences of all.
Well, and that's what I meant by thinking is hard. To them, imagination is just being able to do whatever you want, and the story is just full of Deus Ex Machinas and just reasons. Nothing
They're
is
just
there
not
for
smart people.
They don't want to have to sit there and figure it out. That's what it is. They don't want to have to sit down and take something from their real life. That's why it's hearing from people like Walter Mosley scared the shit out of them.
They don't have a real life. I guarantee you the people who are writing and responsible for a lot of this, I bet a lot of them are probably people who have never really had to deal with a lot of real life things.
That's what I'm saying. That's my point. Is something like what Walter Mosley told them made them uncomfortable.
Exactly.
It's fucking supposed to make you feel uncomfortable.
Nobody
that was the whole point of the story.
Yeah.
It was a point in his life where I'm sure he felt very, very uncomfortable at that moment because this cop, who's somebody of authority, is using a word towards him or talking about people of his same race, and he can't say shit about it. He was probably scared shitless. And those people just took it as, he just used the N-word. I got to say something about that. Instead of taking away from the story what they were supposed to. And with two black men on the panel right now, I know we haven't had you guys on in a long time, but I don't know if you remember that situation with Walter Mosley. What did you guys feel about that, Q Storm and Big Sexy?
I thought it was, I'm trying to put myself back in that frame of mind.
Yeah,
I thought it was what you call, I hate using this term. Well, I'll say wokeness, weaponized.
It's what it was.
No, that's a great way to put it.
These people, you have to understand, I'm not trying to philosophize here, it's going to sound terrible. You have to be able to deal with the harshness of reality to be able to create stories that uplift us from that harshness. Otherwise, you're just throwing a sheen of gloss over everything. And look at that in that story. You got two characters, both young female characters. They managed to give us two characters that I hated them both. I'm supposed to identify with something. I hated them both. You know what I identified with? Oh, there's Picard. That's cool. Okay.
Yeah. You know what? It just dawned on me. A good writer's room would have listened to what Walter Mosley said and said, you know what?
Turned it into a story.
What if there was a Romulan that got stopped by the?
Or what if Discovery just got stopped? Yeah, by like some bigger
Yeah, and it became a big civil rights thing. They were detained and they were put into a prison, and somebody from the Federation had to
have it because it was what's his face? God, what the hell? I can't remember his name now. He was even captain for a while. The alien guy.
Q.
On Discovery.
Doug Jones. Doug
Jones's character.
Saru, yeah.
Yeah, you could have it be like this race that they come across. Everything's peachy and fine until they realize they got Saru on board, and then they freak out.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there you go. I mean, right there's inspiration for imagination, but they don't understand how that works.
They're so pedestrian, and that's probably a good way to describe it. It's so pedestrian that they can't even draw inspiration from something like that because they don't see how it could be applicable to what they
live such sheltered lives. That's why.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, all to them, racism just, or whatever it is, so it's just what they talk about with their friends and how they can score points, whatever hashtag is trending. It's not anything that's real or hasn't happened to anyone they know, or it's not anything that affects them. Like I said, now they had someone in the writer's room where they see it up front. Oh, Walter Mosley had this incident with the LA police. Oh, hey, you know what? That's a good idea for a story. Let's get to work on that. All right, Walter, what happened? Tell us more about what happened. That should, but no, oh my God, my feet are hurt. Where? Oh my God.
Well, what's really interesting too, I mean, Walter Mosley is one of the most important modern Black writers who's writing genre fiction. He's written science fiction. He wrote the Easy Rollins novels. He's won many awards. He's really well recognized. So if Walter Mosley is telling you a story, if he's relating an incident that was related to him by a cop, whatever language he is using in telling that story, it should be understood that language exists within the framework of the story that he is telling. It's not like, and I'm not saying you should be able to use whatever language you want, but clearly his story was about the very thing woke people are worried about. He was conveying the story of a racist cop, and he was using the language. I mean, it's not like that language is unknown to. He uses it a lot in his own work, and it's not like it didn't hurt you to hear a word. And when it's coming from Walter Mosley, if Walter Mosley, of all people, who by the way is multi-ethnic, if he is telling a story, he's not trying to offend. He's not using words that are meant to hurt you. He is making a point he's trying to convey a point to you. And rather than get caught up in one word, why not pay attention to the story Mr. Mosley is telling you? That's the point.
They're not smart enough or mature enough to understand that.
Well, too dense to even see the irony in the whole thing.
Yeah, we've got this kind of generation and culture going around where they're so automatically running to bring politics into everything and bring offense into everything.
Well, not only that, let me throw this
elders.
But how about
Shatner?
But what about the respect Walter Mosley deserves?
I totally agree with you.
The guy's been, he's one of an incredible novelist. His films have been, movies have been adapted from his work. And it's like, if he comes into your room, if you're in a TV writer's room and you have somebody like Walter Mosley in there with you, you pay respect to the man.
Right, you listen.
You listen. You shut the fuck up and listen to what he has to say. And then you don't run to HR.
You guys are attributing too much to these people, because I would bet my 401k that maybe 2% of the people in that room even knew who this guy was.
Oh, you're not wrong, and I said that back then.
Who's this older guy?
That's the thing. They're more ageist than anything.
Because you're talking about people who don't even bother to go into the Star Trek archive to stick to some type of canon. So God knows for sure they don't know who this guy is.
Right.
From past their horizons.
And this is the same generation that wants to quit teaching World War II in high schools because it's too depressing. And here's the other thing. I want to flip this around for a moment. Let's put this out there. Let's say it was a different situation. It wouldn't have ended this way if it was a situation where, like, if some woman, they had the Klingon rape stuff in the show. What if that was from some woman who actually brought it up in the writer's room that she had been raped? There was no way it would have went down the same way. It was a simple fact that he was an old male, and because he was using words that made them uncomfortable, and a lot of these young kids nowadays don't want to deal with the past. They don't want to face the past. But if they're the victim in some way when it comes to being, in like that kind of respect, that's fine. Then they would have been, consoling her. What's the word I'm looking for? Consoling her, right? Is the word I'm looking for. Yeah, it's just a bunch of horseshit. It's just because he's an old guy who they heard of something that scared them, and it was like, oh well, I can't believe he said that word.
Well,
and the problem,
look how they treat William Shatner too. They treat him with no respect.
Yeah, that's just it.
Yeah, they treat their fan base with no respect because you're just a bunch of old white dudes. And I hear that just out in the wild with these types. They don't even understand that it's actually hateful just to lump any white male over 40 in this. They're bad because they're of this generation where things bad happened, even though they're about.
Well, it's spreading beyond white guys from what I've been hearing too. I mean, I don't know if you guys have had any problems, Big Sexy or Q Storm, but I mean, I've got friends that I've talked to and they've said the same thing too, and they're not white. Like, it's just like a male thing in general. If you're over the age of like 30 or 40, there's already this like stigma.
I don't want to speak for everyone else. I can steer this away from race, you know.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to say. I don't even think it's so much a race thing as an age thing is what I was getting to.
And a respect thing. I mean, when are people going to respect somebody who's accomplished in their field? I mean, Walter Mosley has a lifetime of work behind him. And regardless of what color he is, whatever ethnic background he is, how about respecting the work that he's already put forward?
Right.
And the time he's put in. And that's the thing that I find most disturbing is that now we have a culture of people. It's kids don't respect their teachers. Hell, parents don't respect teachers anymore. and you know, they don't, your kid gets a bad grade. It's the teacher's fault. I mean, when I was growing up, you know, Big Sexy, you talk about, we're probably around the same age. If I got a bad report card, my parents, it was me. It was on me. The anvil came down on my head. My teachers weren't blamed. You know, it was like I didn't, and they were right. I didn't study hard enough. I didn't pay enough attention. It was always my fault because I wasn't doing the work. And that was understood. I would never have talked back to a teacher, and my parents would never march to school and demand my teachers give me a better grade. My parents knew that I wasn't doing the work, and there was never a thought that it was anything other than the fact that it was my inaction that was the problem. And nowadays, we don't have that. Nowadays, nobody wants to take responsibility for themselves and do the actual work. And you know what? We did work. If there was bad language or somebody said something offensive, you dealt with it because that's life, man. You know, what do people think?
Hopefully Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin will put an end to this whole thing.
It's funny you would say that, Q, because we talked about that the other day at our Bar Association event. Felicity Huffman did the right thing under the circumstances. She took her medicine, did her time, in, out.
Yep.
Lori Loughlin, she's going to do some years.
She's taking karate lessons.
Years. Yeah. Laugh now. Her skinny ass is going to be in the joint for a couple of years. And as of now, her husband and her still share the same attorney. That will change. There's a conflict right there. One of them will get a better deal and roll on the other one. Watch
you know what I think is funny about this whole situation with Lori Loughlin and Felicity Huffman and all that shit? There's movies based on this premise. Like all of a sudden it's like, I mean, I get it. It's against the law. It's not, you know, but there's movies based on this exact. Look at Back to School, Billy Madison. I mean, there's probably a good handful.
Oh,
yeah.
The funny thing about this whole thing is, those girls didn't even necessarily want to go to USC. It was all a thing about, oh, as parents, we want to say our kids are going to college. Those kids, I mean, her daughter was an influencer making some fat green. She didn't even need to go to school. And I look at this and I'm like, why? The important thing is, wouldn't you want your kids to do the kind of work that would get them into the college that they wanted to go to in the first place? If you have to bribe somebody to get your kid into school, they're not really going to get out of higher education what you want to get out of higher education. Why not just get somebody to money up some fake diploma and say they went there? Why would you want your kids to go to a 4-year college and not do the work once they got there? It's so weird to me that this even happened.
And the thing is, once they got in, okay, you're in. Now you have to stay in.
Right.
Two different things.
Yeah, you got to do the work. Why are people so afraid of the hard work? Like that's how you get rewarded.
It's hard. Because it's hard. That's why.
Because people have become pussies. Yeah, I said it. You know,
well, it's very
the pussification of our country, and I'm tired of it. You want to do something, get up and do the work. If you don't want to do the work, guess what? You're gonna be shining my shoes.
And that goes right back to the core of what we were talking about to begin with the lack of imagination on the story group's behalf on Star Trek and all the shit that they've been doing. And I mean, this short Trek, I didn't watch it. I've been out of this stuff. I didn't want to watch the Tribble one after the crap I heard. I don't need to learn about Tribble nuggets.
That was That was an insult.
It was so insulting.
And it was Critters. It was just a ripoff of Critters and
let the white guy die. Let the stupid man die.
Yeah,
since when do Starfleet officers, they've done that they did that twice in a year, where they set up, I mean, the fact that they cavalierly let any human being die and then they're like, well, that guy deserved it. What? That is the most
God. Yeah, you brought that
the Orville. You feel bad for him. You're like, oh no, not that guy. We don't know him, but like you could see that they're actually pained that he dies during the Kaelon invasion. With these like, oh, he's just an old white dude. He's an idiot.
I think Rob
literally says he's an idiot. Like, this is your captain. You do not speak of your crew like that. Have some damn fucking respect. Get your little scrawny ass in there and call security on him if he's talking back to you in Ghostbusters 2016 the fucking bit. Oh, it pissed me off. I hated that Tribble episode.
There was an episode of Voyager called Ashes to Ashes. Where Kim Rhodes played a crew member that we had never seen before. But they built this character. They gave you so much about this character. They made you feel something for this character. And her body was recovered by the Kobali, who reanimated corpses.
Yeah. I think I don't know. Yeah.
You felt more for Kim Rhodes after the fact and her character than you ever did for anyone who died on Star Trek Discovery.
Forget that. Lower Decks, TNG Lower Decks, the episode Lower Decks.
And Seeker.
Yeah, well, they set her up and what happened to her later. You know?
Yeah.
Well, and I think both you, Robert, and Rob brought this up a few times when we reviewed the shows and talked about the shows about how they keep setting up these white male characters, not to make it about race again, but these white male characters as assholes. So when they die, we're supposed to go, yay!
Well, that's insidious.
Exactly. And you brought it up more so of the fact that is never anything that you should ever root for in a Star Trek show.
Well, like the death of they're just a mean-spirited, hateful group of people, and that's how they imagine all of us to be. Like if we say, "Hey, Michael Burnham isn't a good character," they always yell, "Oh, you're a racist," despite the fact that no matter who played this character, it would be a bad character.
Well, not just that; it's bad writing because you know what that is? That's horror movie writing.
Yeah.
Well, and I hate to say it, but if you want to look at a portrayal of race, Deep Space Nine is one of the most unsung, not just Star Trek, but television shows in terms of look, their portrayal of a single black father and his relationship, his functional, loving, working relationship with his son, the Jake Benjamin Sisko relationship is one of the great father-son relationships ever on TV, much less with two black guys. I mean, it was
just a good character. Sisko is just a good character, period. He's a strong person. He has a great arc. He has great reason for the things he's done. He has great setup. They gifted him this background with Picard. You know, we were talking about this with Anti-Trekker. You gifted him this background where, look, he just kills the wife. It was just an amazing character.
And he's a good father, too, which is something you see in a lot of film or television these days.
And a good son. The episode The Visitor, the sacrifice that Jake makes throughout his life to save his father. I mean,
that was a good one. Yeah.
It was never about race. It was about people.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about Star Trek is that ultimately, I mean, if you look back, I was talking about this on my show today. Now, there was a lot of, when Star Trek was making breaking ground in the 60s, you know, they would cast people on the show. They would get, when they could, actors like William Marshall or Percy Rodriguez. You know, they would get actors of color to play these roles, and they didn't make it about race. They just cast them in roles. It just was matter of fact, and nobody said anything. On Deep Space Nine, it wasn't. No one was saying, "Well, but Benjamin Sisko is the first black lead."
That's because we have
character.
aliens. That's because at this point in history, humanity has evolved. Like, oh yeah, this crap isn't important. There's actually like aliens out here, And
but look at you had Sadiq El Fadil. There was a lot of different character. The ensemble, the greater ensemble in Deep Space Nine. You had a lot of really interesting actors, and multi-ethnic, and it was kind of like The Expanse, which is a show that has a lot of mixed race people in it, which I think is interesting because that's what's going to happen in the future anyway, as travel around the world becomes, if they have supersonic travel and you can go to London in 2 hours, people are just going to be traveling around the world more and falling in love and meeting with and eventually, as we move into the future, the human beings are going to become the way we should, becoming a spacefaring race. We will become mixed altogether. And those racial barriers are going to drift away over the decades and the centuries as everybody meets everybody else for the first time. Even now, we're still pretty isolated. But as we travel across the globe, as travel becomes easier and we move out into the galaxy and we become belters or citizens of Mars, or, Bobby in The Expanse, is she from New Zealand? Is she Maori? Well, I don't know. She's from Mars. And does it matter? And I think that it's such a strange thing. And Star Trek has always been at the front of that and never pushing that issue. People were just there. And it was that kind of representation that's important. You're not banging people over the head. It's just matter of fact.
Oh, but they have a woman of color on the bridge. There's your aggressive.
I don't think Robert's seen that. Hold that up again, Mecca.
Oh, the in action figure.
This is the Michael Burnham in action figure with zero.
I have one of those.
Awesome.
Okay, cool.
I need to put it on my set.
But actually,
we got some super chats to catch up on when you're done with that, Rob.
But anyway, TNG actually, they remember the episode First Contact where Riker poses as a citizen of this on this planet, and he's actually that dealt with a lot of that, about beating other races. And I know, it scares the shit out of some people, but you know what? Change is always scary. But a lot of times we're better on the other side.
Whatever. We want to be the first one to knock up some alien race, and you know it.
Well, in that episode, First Contact, Bebe Neuwirth, the actress Bebe Neuwirth's character, says, "I've always wanted to sleep with an alien."
Yeah,
she actually says that to Riker. He obliges her.
I just always think of Jay from, I think it was Clerks 2. He's like, one of these days, I wonder what it'd be like if I'd be the first one to have sex with an alien. And then everybody like, there he goes. Homeboy fucked a Martian once or some shit. Palpatine's Magic Baby Makers sent us another $5, Rob. I'm confused. There hasn't been a Star Trek series since Enterprise, unless you're counting Orville. That's about all we count, I think, around here.
I know.
Even those who don't enjoy Orville.
I know, yeah.
Oh, let me see this jump on.
I like
again.
Orville.
Well, I think Q Storm didn't like it, but I think he came around.
Q hated it.
Well, I don't badmouth it anymore because it is better than what I got from Star Trek Season 2 Discovery.
I told you.
Rob, I want to ask this. What do you guys think is going on with with Patrick Stewart? You guys kind of brought him up. Someone said that they're dragging him down with the ship. I mean, do you think Stewart is looking? Let's assume for a second that short Trek, which they had the gall to say at the end, based on Star Trek: The Next Generation, that was in the credits, and it made me furious. Do you think if that's the level of writing we're going to get for the Picard series?
Yes,
it is.
Do you think Stewart looked at this and said, "Guys, I played a character for."
He did not want to come back and do that character again. He says, "I will only come back if it's a very different Picard." He's been saying that for years. He didn't want to come back and play that same, He wants to be like action Picard. Dune buggies. This is why we have the Dune buggies meme on the show. People always say, "Oh, Patrick Stewart isn't going to let them ruin the character. He's an actor. He doesn't want to do the same thing over and over again."
I like pew pews and Dune buggies.
Yeah. And the
Well,
fact
you
that
know,
we're getting all these articles about, they're inserting the real world politics, it's basically Orange Man bad in space, convinces me that yes, everything I've been hearing for the past year is accurate. You have the toxic, TDS writing room and writing staff and production on the show. You have the Cesium degrees mentality. You have today people who are obsessed with race, politics, etc., come like just inserting everything into Star Trek, and you have Patrick Stewart being among those still doing the same thing, and we keep seeing in like this Variety article, and I
Okay.
gave you like an excerpt from it too.
Having a different Picard is an interesting concept. How has he changed as he's gotten old? But having a different Picard is different from having different writing that's bad.
Well, they're not even hiding it anymore. Kurtzman flat out said it's not a sequel to.
That's
to
not a
Next-
sequel to Next Generation. It is not like they're just like prepping you to have it fail. I think.
How is it not a sequel to Next Generation? You got seven. You got Data, Riker.
Go ahead, Robert.
7 of 9.
And Robert's bursting. He knows. He's got some answers to this, I bet.
Well, here's what I think is problematic as far as whenever you allow actors, and I'm not saying that actors don't know, but in the case of what Patrick Stewart wants, think about what actors do. Actors get to play really interesting characters. Patrick Stewart comes from the Royal Shakespeare Company in England. And you're dealing with literally one of the great writers in all of human history who writes great conflicted characters, great dramatic stories. I mean, whether you're talking about the Henry or the Henry plays, whether you're talking about Othello, you're talking about Titus Andronicus, Julius Caesar, Romeo and Juliet. These are classical dramatic characters, some of the great stories of the English language. And if you've come up in that tradition, playing characters that are conflicted at times of trouble, you really get to play meaty parts. And Patrick Stewart, let's face it, is phenomenal. He's a phenomenal actor, but playing Jean-Luc Picard, he's essentially one note. Now, I don't mean that Picard is a one-note guy, but he was the stoic captain of the ship. He was the anchor of all things good in the universe. That's what he represented for Star Trek: The Next Generation. And for an actor, especially a Shakespearean trained actor, that gets a little boring.
Sure.
And so when he gets to take essentially Charles Xavier as well, is the same role in the X-Men universe. And when what Patrick Stewart really wanted to do was he wants to stretch dramatically. He wants to use the acting muscles that he learned in a lifetime of acting with the RSC. And the thing is, the character of Picard doesn't allow him to do that. And so he doesn't want to come back and play that same guy. I totally understand that's the case. Now, he does Logan, where he shows Professor Xavier in decline, losing control of his mind, his faculties. That is a meaty role for an actor to play.
That was an interesting portrayal. I like that change.
I thought that was terrific. The problem is, and I was speaking about this on my own show today, the problem is what they have done over the last 10 years is they've fundamentally changed the basis of what Star Trek is. And as I was explaining, when you watch the original series, the Enterprise herself was an example of humanity's achievement at the time. Basically, the Enterprise was a proxy for all mankind. It was the height of our technology. It always came through in a pinch. It held all different kinds of people, all races, all different kinds of people. Everybody that came from humanity was brought forth by the Enterprise. But you never saw the Earth of the 23rd century. But we knew that where humanity came from, the utopian civilization, that mankind had overcome. So no matter what happened out in the final frontier, we always had the strength of what mankind's troubles had brought us. And they had brought us to a technological age of enlightenment where we could overcome our problems. And in doing so, human problems were encapsulated by the people we met out in the final frontier. The alien races, they were proxies for our problems. So what they're doing with Star Trek and what they've done for the last 10 years is completely take that away. They're taking away humanity's utopian ways. They're taking away, they're destroying the goodness of the utopian civilization, the utopian underpinnings of Star Trek. And in doing so, they're fundamentally changing. Look, they're talking about how Starfleet's going to be like Brexit, you know, or they're going to chip away at all those institutions because that's what our institutions are like today. But the problem with that is that was the fundamental optimism of Star Trek in the first place, knowing that we came from a place where we had already overcome. And that was what allowed us to move out amongst the stars. So, like you said, Big Sexy, you tell a story like in Logan, where in the X-Men universe, the world can go to shit because that's a part of that universe. And the mutants endure in the face of racism and in the face of the Sentinels and being hunted down. But that's not Star Trek. And once you fundamentally destroy the underpinnings of human civilization in the Star Trek universe, which is what they've done the entire time, they've done that for the last 10 years, you don't have a place to operate from that's good. And here now, they're going to make Picard a broken man. I mean, if you weren't broken by becoming Locutus and killing tens of thousands of people in the battle at Wolf 359, and you were able to overcome that, you can't tell me, unless I'm going to be disillusioned by what happened with Starfleet. They have to create all of this drama that destroys what Star Trek, the very fabric of what it is.
And I'm saying it seems like Stewart, having been a steward of this iconic property for as long as he was, it seems like you would expect him to be almost going to the writers with notes and saying, guys, what are we doing to this property?
Unfortunately, he's not a fan. Like, I mean, I don't mean like he's a fan of the character and whatnot, but he doesn't sit there. Do you really think he's ever really watched the shows?
No.
I doubt he's ever sat down and watched the shows.
I can't imagine you star in something for 7 years and you don't get attached to it.
I'm sure he picked up on a few things, but look at Star Trek Nemesis and the other Star Trek movie.
You got me there.
Are a perfect example of him getting to do what he wanted to do that was something different. And to an actor, a lot of times they don't think about that kind of stuff. They think about, oh, I get to ride a dune buggy today.
Mm-hmm.
Right. No, but you're absolutely right. And if you read Michael Pillar's unauthorized book on the writing of Star Trek Insurrection, I mean, look, I've met Patrick Stewart. I've sat down with him and spoke to him at length.
Oh, wow.
He's an amazing guy. Like when we were doing the interviews for the Next Gen discs, we had hours-long conversations on multiple occasions with all the principal cast. On the season 2 disc, I actually sit down and moderate. You can watch it. With the entire cast, a roundtable discussion with all of them, me and the cast. And Patrick Stewart's a great guy. I interviewed him for the first time on the X-Men 2 set when I was doing the special features for that DVD at the time. And he's a terrific guy. He really is. But the actors are not attached the way we are. Their experience of making these things is very different than us as an audience watching.
I think about an Ed Norton or Robert Downey Jr. or who's I can't think of some of the other actors that really they have reputations for being hard to work with. They're so into wanting to craft their character and merge it into a proper story. So
well, the difference is, though, a lot of times actors are more into the emotion of the events than they are what's.
If Jeff won't even watch his own.
I mean, they don't necessarily. They don't necessarily understand a story arc per se. They just know they get to do something juicy if something happens. So whatever it takes to make something happen, do it. I mean, you'll even have certain actors where they'll have their own special writers they hire to come in and beef up scripts for them, like Tom Cruise, Will Smith. You know, a lot of those guys do. Well, go ahead, Rob.
Like in an episode, if you look at one of the shining Patrick Stewart moments in Next Generation was in 6 seasons, Chain of Command Part 2, where it's him and David Warner as Gul Madred. Going, there are 4 lights, and that was Patrick Stewart at his finest. He was tortured. I mean, it was bad juju in that episode, and he really got to go head to head with an actor that he admitted. He told us that one of the great performances he ever saw in his life was David Warner doing Hamlet on the British stage. And Patrick Stewart was like nervous when they told him that David Warner was going to play this gull in that episode. And he told me directly this, and he couldn't believe that they had hired him. And because, you know, the American audiences at the time aren't going to know what Patrick Stewart thought of David Warner's performances as Hamlet. And when they did that, within the context of Star Trek, you can tell a really dark story about torture, about war crimes, but yet you still have the utopian underpinning framework of what Star Trek is. You can make it that dark and go to those places within the context of a Star Trek story without crushing and chipping away at the underpinnings of the franchise. And in this case, we've got a synth revolt because, you know, Battlestar Galactica, Blade Runner. I mean, how many synthetic human stories where we've seen them go crazy or want life or want their rights have we seen? Now, we already saw in Next Generation, they did a story about that in the second season, The Measure of a Man, one of the great episodes of Next Generation.
Getting all the best up, my favorite episodes.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this stuff, that's what Star Trek is. You know, you don't have a bunch of synthetic people. I mean, sure, other science fiction franchises, the Cylons destroyed the 12 colonies, you know, and that's Battlestar Galactica or Blade Runner. The replicants want more life. They're hunting down. They're trying to get to Eldon Tyrell because they want to live longer than 4 years. All of that is great, but in a Star Trek framework, they deal with these same subjects, but they do it in an enlightened, intelligent, and uplifting way. As dark as you go, it's still ultimately life affirming. That's why people love Star Trek. And in this case, what do we see? Utopia Planitia is bombed by rogue synths, you know, and we're going to see, okay, whether they use Noonien Sung's technology or Borg technology or whatever, they've created evil cyborgs that are already killing human beings. It's like, really? I mean, is that a Star Trek story that you want to tell?
Well, and the problem with Discovery and a lot of this stuff, and of course, with going back to JJ's Trek, is they're riding on this whole darker is better campaign that went on forever, it seemed like, in our franchises. I mean, and I think it came to a head with Batman v Superman, I think is where it kind of came to a head, finally. And yeah, it's outdated. It's still sticking around. We've seen it lingering in Solo. There's been some other movies that's been lingering. I got to get caught up with some of these super chats. But to go back to what I was just saying before about the whole writer thing, Q-Storm, and the whole thing is like Tom Cruise and stuff. The reason The Mummy sucked so bad is because he had to have his writers come in and write it for him. And they'll tailor it to the actor. They'll make the actor shine. It doesn't matter if it's a detriment to the story or not. It's whether or not Tom Cruise looks fucking cool. That's what it's about. And that's the kind of, I'm not saying Patrick Stewart's the same way, but that's the kind of mentality a lot of these actors have. It's all about them. It's all about what they get to do and shine. And it doesn't matter if it fits the story or not.
It's gonna hurt me to see my favorite captain. Putting Kirk aside, he stands alone. Outside of that, seeing my favorite captain in a property as rubbish filled as Star Trek Discovery, it's going to hurt me to see Patrick Stewart, I want to say, debasing himself with bad writing, bad plotting, and don't give a fuck story arcs.
Look, I'm willing to. We haven't seen the show yet.
Yeah, it could be good.
I'm even willing to go in and admit, I hope that it's great. I want this show to be great. But judging from this kind of a setup and what we've seen with the short treks and all that, and what we've seen from Star Trek Discovery, I have no faith that we're going to get the kind of prestige, uplifting, ultimately heroic and inspirational show that we should be getting from a Picard series. I don't see it, but I want that. I want to get that.
Patrick Stewart could be great in it. That doesn't mean the rest of the show is going to be any good. You know what I mean? It could be one of those situations too. But anyway, we got to get caught up on these super chats real quick. Sorry, guys. Neon Visual sent us £2. Uncensored violent news service on the school TV. I didn't see the show. Was there like a news service on at the school that was showing uncensored?
Yeah, there was. They showed the attack on Mars on a screen for the kids, which is that's always something you want to do.
There he goes. Homeboy shot a Martian once.
Yeah.
The for $5. Hello, all. Love MEAD. Glad to see Mr. Meyer Burnett. Trek should be optimistic and smart. Let's go where no one has gone before. Yeah, that's actually
that gets right back around to what we were talking about. Yeah.
For a show called Star Trek Discovery, they don't discover anything
other than just darkness and despair. Yeah. Matt G also sent us $5, Rob.
Matt G, $5. Stewart said Logan inspired him to do the show. Does that worry you? Aside from woke issues, he's playing Professor X more than just Jake Picard.
Well, I hope the show is a little bit more inspired by that idea in a sense that, I mean, you have this classic character who's being called back into action again for whatever. I mean, and in some ways, the trailer looks a little too much like Logan. Like he's like, just do that. Let's do that again. Only make me the Wolverine guy.
Yes. I'm listening.
That was brilliant.
And then Tiberius Monk 84 sent us another $2. Can wokeness die this decade for pancake's sake? Here's the thing with Trek, and
I don't want wokeness to necessarily die, but I want it to get a grip.
I was just gonna say, I mean, one thing that Robert Meyer Burnett and everybody else has been bringing up kind of here is Trek's already kind of been always woke. That's what I don't understand. I'm surprised they didn't go to the extreme with it, and we're not bitching on the other end of this stuff. That's what's funny, is that they felt they had to take away all the hope and the real diversity that was already in the show and supplant it with this false darkness and false diversity that's constantly being pushed for just to say, look, we got gay characters, look, we got a black lead actress, look, we got, whatever. I mean, and that's where it gets to the point where it's almost like, like the old days with the circus freaks. And I can't believe some of these people haven't figured out yet that they're just being used as token whatevers on these shows and haven't like rebelled against it at this point. I mean, even at least people like John Boyega have started to see that he got the short end of the stick when it came to Star Wars. And, I mean, he's at least speaking out a little bit. I wish some of these other actors and actresses
Boyega's a treasure. He just released
I was kind of referring to that, but I don't know if I can show it because it's got a rap song in it. So I don't want to get claimed.
Just mute it, but it's really funny.
But we might get to that. But we got so many of these super chats we got to get caught up to, which we appreciate them so much, guys. And I apologize for taking so long to get to them, but we've got such a great conversation going on here. It's so tough to stop the flow. Nelson Shrita sent us $5. I loved Logan, an old tired Wolverine, and Professor X. Show us a character who have changed, but with time are the same people. Hated Luke because he wasn't Luke. Well, and I've had this conversation with several people, including you, Mr. Burnett, where I flat out said, I think the end of The Last Jedi wouldn't have been so bad if they actually had Luke show up. You had to have that Unforgiven ending. You can't do that to your character and not have them redeem themselves.
Right. No, you're right. I think about when I saw Unforgiven the first time, when Clint Eastwood, who hasn't had a drop of liquor in 10 years, he's talking to the Schofield kid, and one of the ladies of the evening drives out, and Clint Eastwood realizes that Morgan Freeman's character Ned is dead. He's been killed, and he's on display in front of one of the storefronts in town, and he slowly takes this bottle of whiskey, and you don't even really notice. They don't make a big deal about it. It just takes a huge long swig, and that hell is going to be unleashed.
Plus, he takes a drink just before he goes after Wild Bill too, doesn't he?
Yeah. And it's such
or
a
not
great,
Wild Bill, but yeah,
the Duck of Death.
The Duck of Death.
But yeah, it's just these are the kind of things. I mean, I want to see subtlety. I want to see nuance. I want to see real human behavior. Little Bill. That's right. And I think that's what we want to see from these shows. And what's interesting to me is, if you have a man like Captain Picard, who he's already saved the universe, he's already almost destroyed the universe, he's done everything. What is a man like that in the twilight of his years? What would really go on there? So he's going to be given a trope, a young woman in trouble, literally a damsel in distress for whatever reason, is going to bring him out. If it's a kid, his kid, or whatever, his DNA, whatever it is. And it's like, really? Like, that's what you're going to do with Jean-Luc Picard? You're just going to turn him into any other character that could be on any other Saturday evening show. You know, I mean, it could be an episode of MacGyver, and
Walker,
it's
Texas Ranger.
yeah, it could be anything. Justified. It could be on Breaking Bad, whatever. And where's the Star Trek version of that? You know, what does it look like when you're going to do that in the future, in the 24th century? That's what I want to see. I want to take all of these tropes, take your trope, but turn it on its head, shake it up. Give me something interesting in the prism of a science fiction action adventure show that I haven't seen before. Take something that it's unexpected, a direction you're going to go in that we might not have thought about before. And I feel like all of this modern Star Trek is all treading ground, but badly. And I don't get it.
That's because all they know how to do is copy, and paste. Miranda Duvall sends us $5 super chat. Patrick Stewart is betraying Star Trek by doing this new show, just like Leonard Nimoy betrayed Star Trek by being part of JJ's 2009 abomination.
Well, they gotta get paid, you know. I mean, Patrick's got to eat.
Honestly, I don't know if he's really doing this for money, because I mean, he's probably got more than enough money until the day he dies. At this point, he's just. I mean, and I'm sure there was something that got him on board, that hooked him in a way that made him want to do this. Let's just hope it's a good reason.
They bought him a dune buggy.
They did. Neon Visual sent me £5. STP is a prequel to Michael Burnham season 3. It's that simple. It's to give Discovery a place in non-canon as fixers the Federation, as the fixers of the Federation they broke, I think it's supposed to say. Yeah, well, yeah, we've already said that this is what the show, when Picard's going to set up. You know, Starfleet fell apart, even though we were at the most prosperous time in our history in Starfleet. You know,
I'm sorry. Am I alone in thinking you're gonna see a USS Michael Burnham?
I hope we're not supposed to talk about her.
They don't even stick to their own internal canon. Why should they start paying attention to what they're writing now?
Are you joking that there's gonna be a USS Michael Burnham?
No, but don't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Tom, do you want to make a little friendly wager?
I bet you that what was it? How many pounds super chat? 5 pounds super chat.
Yeah, we'll okay. It's just a little friendly wager. We're here first. It's $5. That's all. Just for bragging rights. That's all. It's a symbolic bet. Okay. There will be a USS Michael Burnham on Star Trek.
I don't think there'll be a USS Michael Burnham, but I know they will find a way to either bring up Discovery or her. But I'll take that bet. So okay. Yeah. Nelson Sharita sent us $2. Great acting, or great writing plus acting is better than $40 million in special effects. That's true. And bringing up that point, that's what brought us. You brought up the other day on your show, Robert, was you heard that this show cost $400 million,
something like that. Yeah, that's a number that has been quoted that I've heard.
And yeah, that's crazy.
Now, if you're looking at how many episodes, there's 10 episodes of Picard.
Somebody said 8, and then another person said 10, and I don't remember anymore. So it's like that's like $40 or $50 million an episode, basically.
Right, which is, I mean, that. Now, I don't know if that is true, but I know that Discovery was incredibly expensive.
Well, yeah, we know that it was I think it was confirmed that they spent around $8 to $10 million an episode on that.
Oh, I've heard it's way north.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah,
yeah. But, I mean, and you look at that. That's hugely the funny thing about that is Star Trek shouldn't be that expensive. The whole lesson of how Star Trek was produced is to keep it on a budget, and they were very good at that, which also forces your writing to do things that you make the writing take the place of large special effects sequences and things like that. And I don't know. I mean, who knows how much Patrick Stewart got paid to be in every episode?
Oh, I'm sure it was a pretty penny.
Probably a lot.
A great example of writing around a budget is the Doomsday Machine, where they just repurposed the Enterprise set and just dirtied it up a bit.
Oh, that's a great example of a bottle show.
Well, that's how the show used to pay for itself, and Roberts talked about that several times about how they would amortize the cost through, the bigger episodes, through the smaller ones, and through the seasons by, upfront costs, and then you just keep repurposing and reusing, and you even see it in the movies.
Right.
Even other movies have used Star Trek.
Well, the intermix chamber of the Voyager is the intermix chamber from the refit Enterprise from the motion picture.
Well, even if you watch the RLM reviews, they've been pointing out a lot of the props that drop in from other shows, and not only other Star Trek shows and movies, but other movies in general.
Oh, yeah,
they've used other props from and shit. So yeah, I mean, they've learned how to repurpose stuff quite well, I think. Because wasn't even that one station like an upside down something or other in one of the movies too? It was the same thing.
Well, yeah, regular one is an upside down version of the executive building the executive station that's overseeing the refit of the Enterprise in the motion picture. They just and also from the first season, they did this twice, but the first season episode of Next Generation 11001001, they used the footage of Space Dock from Star Trek 3. And they have the Enterprise D flying to Space Dock, and they just took the elements. I got them. I got each individual element. It's the exact same elements from Star Trek 3, and they just shot the Enterprise D model to be able to fly into Space Dock. But and of course that caused a canonical problem, because that means that Space Dock would have to have been infinitely bigger than the original. But as it was, because the Enterprise barely fit through those doors. But as Mike Akuta told me, he said, look, at the time, Bob Justman said, look, do you want to be able to have because Mike Akuta said, why don't we just have the Enterprise D park next to this ship or something? Bob Justman was like, no, because then we wouldn't be able to use the shot. And would you rather have the shot or not? So they opted to use that. They repurposed the elements from that shot and then comped in the Enterprise D. And it was the right move. It was the right move.
Talk about saving money. I saw a great behind the scenes one time for Next Generation. There was one episode. I don't know there was one episode. I don't remember what it was, but they needed a shuttlecraft, and they needed a model of a shuttlecraft. So they got a model kit of just like a generic van and 2 disposable Gillette razors.
And isn't that why the shuttlecraft looks the way it does anyway?
Pretty much, yeah. And then there was another episode, When the Bow Breaks. They actually did the same thing. They got a bunch of model kits, and they just took all the bits and pieces and made this giant cloak that protected the planet energy field that was rendering everybody sterile. But it's just a good glimpse inside. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of trickery that they use, and it's Discovery. They're just throwing money after it. There's just no creativity.
Right. Well, and what that speaks to is that you can keep reusing those shots, and like I said, you can watch RLM if you want to see a lot of the ones that are, and they reuse that a couple explosions quite a few times too in throughout the movies and stuff too in the series that they've used over and over again too. I know that, and what that speaks to is it speaks to the fact that you don't really notice because it doesn't matter, because the writing is so good, because the acting is so good, because the story's so good that the other little ancillary things like that don't really, you may notice because you've seen it a million times before, but it doesn't freaking matter.
Or if someone points it out to you, that's the other thing.
Exactly, too. Yeah. Matt G sent us another $5. Starfleet corrupt also betrays the end of the TNG. We forget Q in so many ways told Picard the human race was capable of evolving into the Q. Well, and that's what I was saying before about, I mean, I don't understand how they're trying to say that Star Trek went to shit when we last left it in one of the best places it's ever been,
Oh yeah. But because you know what though, it's easy. Dystopia is easy. It's much harder. It's much harder to tell great stories within the framework of a utopian civilization. But that's why you go out into the final frontier. The whole purpose of Star Trek is that it's an allegorical show where we come from a place of plenty and humanity is overcome its problems, but no one else in the galaxy has. And so we go out there and we experience, I mean, everybody else's problems are proxies for humanity today. That was what was so great about Star Trek. It was allegorical. And the now what they're doing is they're going to turn the world of Star Trek to shit. They're going to turn Star Trek into a dystopian show, which we've already seen in a bunch of other different franchises. And that's the easy way out. It's so difficult. I mean, it would be much more difficult to figure out a way to tell a really relevant Jean-Luc Picard story within what happens. I mean, when you live in a utopia and you're a man that has done a lot of stuff in your life, when you're still virile and you're still vibrant and you still can function. Remember, McCoy lived to be 100 and however many years old. What do you do in the second half of the third act of your life? What does a guy like Jean-Luc Picard do? And I guess now the easiest thing is, the Starfleet goes to shit. It's been infiltrated, and he's got to rescue maybe his daughter. There's Borg experimentation. They're Frankensteining up. The Romulans are doing bad experiments. Everything is bad, and we're going to do that. So Picard becomes a generic action hero who is going to ride off into the sunset fixing these problems. But this is basically the most rudimentary, easy way to go with this character that I can possibly imagine. But again, not having seen it, maybe it'll be good.
Well, one of the things I noticed is that, I mean, for a lot of people growing up and a lot of younger writers, I mean, take a look at what happens to celebrities, political figures, sports stars. Almost every day, there's something in the news about your heroes faltering.
Right.
About heroes being torn down. And for all the good, I'm gonna kick the hornet's nest here. For all the good that the Me Too movement was supposed to do, it just seemed to destroy a lot of people. And you have so many movements that are about destroying people rather than just making the world better. And we have a whole generation that has grown up now where there's somebody, find something on him. Find something on that guy. Tear him down. Bring him back down. Hero worship is supposed to be important. Not hero worship, but there's this great line, that great speech in Spider-Man 2 that Aunt May gives to Peter about why heroes are important. They're supposed to, there's still people that are looked at. I can tell my kids if I had kids, about the time I saw Reggie Jackson. Or about the time I saw, a president or great world leader. I saw the Pope granted, the Pope's not exactly a beloved figure these days, symbolically, but I saw the Pope when I was in Rome. Oh yeah, I saw the Pope. These larger than life figures. We have an entire generation that has expected heroes to fuck up. And that's now being reflected in the current genre and the current movies and television and everything else. And as you said, it's easier to tear someone down than it is to tell you why this guy is great these days.
It's lazy.
It's lazy, yeah. But the thing is, people gravitate towards what's easy. That's the thing. And I think it's a real shame. I mean, like I said, Picard. Okay, we should, rather than tearing down Picard, what makes Picard great? What would make this man great in his later years? Why should we revere? I thought it was going to be Picard. Honestly, I thought it was going to be Picard teaching maybe at Starfleet Academy about ambassadorial relations or whatever, course or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be a commandant at Starfleet, and we were going to see the younger kids.
Right. That's what I wanted to do.
Like a movie like The Paper Chase, or a TV show. I don't know if you guys remember that, but The Paper Chase was...
Yes. With John Houseman, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. But no, we're getting another dystopian vision of the future. And I did a video on my own channel. I said, the audience was going to get burned out on that eventually.
You know what would have been better is if they just used Discovery and for Picard, because then it wouldn't have been in the past and ruined everything, and you had Picard like with this crew of kids that are training on this brand new experimental ship, and it goes batshit crazy and sends them to wherever. I know it's a lot like Voyager or whatever, but you have it a little bit different. I mean, you throw in different things, but at the same time, it's like, you have the situation where Patrick Stewart realizes this is probably his final mission. He don't know if he's going to make it home. You have all these young kids who are inexperienced and don't know what the fuck to do. You have this whole different dichotomy instead of this We gotta just rip off everything. That's literally, this is like Lone Wolf and Cub all over. We just saw this with Mandalorian, for fuck's sake.
Think about that, Tom. Though, think about that. Picard is somewhere. I mean, his life is in the hands of a untested crew.
That's what I'm saying. And it's like you could have done that. It could have been Discovery. It could have been Picard running Discovery on the ship that nobody knows how to run. It's sent them to God knows where in space and time or whatever. And he, like I said, he knows this is probably his final mission. But the only thing he can do is get these kids to a point where they can get them home.
How do I get these kids? How do I get these kids home safely? That's my only concern. Forget about me. I've lived my life. You know, that kind of thing. That is far more heroic. An older man, like you said, they have to learn to trust him, and he has to learn to trust them, and he has to bring out the best in them. That's more Star Trek than anything we've seen so far.
Well, and they might do some of that with this young cast they got bringing in, but of course they got to hang it on this story of the girl who's the key to everything. But yeah, sorry, Type A or Spunk sent us another $5. Thank you so much.
Star Trek has saved my life and the lives of others, saved me from suicide, even and it hurts that the optimism of Star Trek is gone in this modern era. It hurts us too. It really does.
Well, that's what we're speaking to, is the optimism. That show would have given some optimism. hopefully there's some optimism in the show, but I just can't help but feel like that I just don't get it. I mean,
I'm going to throw this.
Yeah, absolutely, please.
I want to throw this out, and I'm really interested to hear what Mr. Burnett has to say. Tell me if I'm nitpicking. Even the title of the series is problematic for me. Star Trek Picard. And why is that problematic? No Star Trek episode has ever focused on one singular character.
Yep.
Every Star Trek.
Well, until you've kind of gotten to Star Trek Discovery, anyway.
We're not talking about that crap. Okay. Every series has been an ensemble cast. Which the ensemble cast has been an allegory or a metaphor, probably better to say, for humanity. Okay, that the coming together of a family, that cast, all the positions that we came to know. That's what made Star Trek interesting to me, and I think what made Star Trek successful. Now we're basically saying we have a gimmick. We were able to lure Patrick Stewart back onto stage. Let's call the show Star Trek Picard. That'll get everyone interested again. It to me, it puts a neon light on the gimmick itself. Star Trek Picard.
You're not wrong.
Sellout title to me.
I agree with you. I mean, again, I understand. It's. I would think that, you know, even a title like The Undiscovered Country, that's a reference to Shakespeare.
Yeah, I hated that title when it first came out, but now, as I watch that movie more and more, I love that title.
Yeah, and I look, I agree with you. I think that again, it would require. I mean, I'm sure some marketing person thought, okay, Star Trek Picard was good, but even if you go back and you think about, we were talking about Unforgiven. Unforgiven is a great metaphoric title about what that movie is all about. And I think a Star Trek Picard series needed a cooler title, a title that had more import, more gravitas. It's just some dude's name. And like you said, Star Trek has always traditionally been ensemble. The Next Generation certainly was. I mean, each episode focused primarily on a different character. You know, there was always B stories, but there was always an A story where somebody was the focus. You know, sometimes it was a Riker story. Sometimes it's a Data story or a Geordi story or a Troy story or a Crusher story. I mean, we got Sub Rosa. There's a great Crusher story. But I mean, it's like, I agree with you. I think Star Trek Picard, it's like, really? That's what you're going to give us? You're not going to give us where's his state of mind?
There's no effort in that title.
No, and where is he going? And I'm sure, you know what? Actors are vain people. I'm sure Patrick Stewart loved the fact that it was called Star Trek Picard because that puts him front and center. But you know, it looks again like there is an ensemble cast of characters, and Picard is one of them. And I just think, look, it was I'm sure, like the marketing people, they thought, what are we going to call this show? We're just going to call it Picard. And I'm like, well, okay. I mean, I would have thought, you know, you think about James Bond movies. James Bond movies are all about James Bond. He's front and center. But, you know, you get titles like Live and Let Die, or Tomorrow Never Dies, or Goldfinger, or From Russia with Love, or
No Time to Die.
No Time to The Spy Who Loved Me, For Your Eyes Only, The Man with the Golden Gun. All these cool titles that it's like, ooh, I gotta see that. But we get a Star Trek series called Picard.
Star Trek Picard. I might as well just take the hammer and hit it over my own head.
Right.
Well, and then you had that article earlier this week, and I think you commented on it too, Robert. I think I've seen on your show where they were saying, "Oh, well, it's been decided Picard is the best captain ever."
Oh man, yeah, it's just, well, again, it's an era. It's funny because the character of Kirk, wrongly, I might add, in pop culture history is known as this, I'm a womanizer and I get down with the green ladies, even though he never did.
I was gonna say he's only had sex like maybe once or twice on the show, possibly.
I mean,
it was all in the movies where he was having all the sex.
Well, it's such a weird thing to say that now. I mean, like I said, Star Trek, the original Star Trek has that frontier ethos. Roddenberry said it was a wagon train to the stars. That's what the show was. You come out of television that was full of Westerns. I mean, Gunsmoke, Bonanza were still on the air. Those things are. Roddenberry himself came out of writing for Have Gun Will Travel. He wrote 25 episodes of that. The story of Paladin, a rich guy who in San Francisco, for money, he would strap on his 6-shooters and go out and right wrongs in the West. I mean, this was not something that is hard to understand. And of course, in 87, with the advent of the Next Generation, we put a counselor on the bridge, and you give the captain becomes a kindler, gentler, more of a politician, more of an educated statesman, like one of the founding fathers. I could have seen Picard, when the Americas were being incorporated. Of course,
didn't he kind of treat that like almost like a nuisance at first? I remember, wasn't it kind of like?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't know where he was going to go. He didn't think his representation said it wouldn't last longer than 13 episodes. That's what they told him at first. He was very surprised by the success.
Well, no, I meant on the show itself, Picard, the character, like didn't he treat like some of the fact that he had to deal with the counselor and a few other things?
Oh yeah,
like a nuisance
kids on the bridge. Yeah, he was. Yes,
he hated Wesley on the bridge. I know. That.
Yeah, I mean, I know they made him a little warmer as it went on, but I rewatched first few seasons again here recently. It's like I just remember, like, God, he was kind of a prick at first.
Oh yeah. Yep.
But no, and I think you said this, Robert. If not, it was Robert or Rob, one of the two, where I think you guys were right, either one of you, whichever one brought it up. I think that this kind of icon of Kirk came more from Eddie Murphy's rendition of him than the actual show. And I think that's where Kirk is now problematic, and that's where they're seeing it is. And I think they're like overreacting to the kind of character he was. I could be wrong there, but
problematic with that SNL appearance when Shatner did the Get a Life routine.
Yeah. I'm just mean like the womanizing, type of.
He never was really a womanizer. Kirk was never.
That's what I was saying, and I know it was either you, Rob, or Robert, one of the two, that brought up that they thought that kind of the reason that America kind of sees that version of Kirk is more so because of that Eddie Murphy bit.
Yeah, it is because of Eddie Murphy. I'll tell you though. I'm sorry, but you'll learn though. For me, the way Captain Kirk treats women, you watch Conscience of the King.
Oh yeah,
that is actually the best. You want to see? Everyone says to you, "Oh, Captain Kirk, toxic." No, Conscience of the King.
I mean, what about City on the Edge of Forever? Even better, right?
Yeah, even that. See, but yeah, even more so, Conscience of the King.
Worlds may change, galaxies disintegrate, but a woman always remains a woman.
Hey, and not only that, why can't these people see that Kirk was ahead of his time? Remember, he's like, "Is that David? Well, I stayed out of the way because that's what I thought you wanted." That kind of thing. Like, he respected, the fact that she didn't want to get married and all that kind of stuff or whatever, and
yep.
Let her be her own woman and raise their son without him being, an overmasculated. No, we can't have none of that. Kind of thing.
No, absolutely. Hey, I have to jump, you guys.
No, that's fine. We're gonna probably wrap it up soon anyway, because I'm sure these guys are getting tired too.
Before you go, which where can I pick up the box set that you put all these?
That would be the Blu-ray set of the Next Generation. And didn't you work on Enterprise too, Robert?
Yeah, I did. And I work with a guy named Roger Lay Jr., and we worked for 3 years creating all the special features on Next Generation and Enterprise. And there's a lot. Like we did between 90 minutes and 2-hour brand new documentaries on each season. And then there's all kinds of other special features and things that we uncovered and made. And we did all new interviews with everybody. We interviewed everybody from Rick Berman and Brandon Braga on down. And there's really cool roundtable discussions. I mean, if you like Enterprise, the documentaries on Enterprise and all the special features, the new stuff we did, is pretty revealing because people were very candid. And again, we got the whole cast of Enterprise to come back and have a roundtable discussion there. And that's hosted by Brandon Braga. It's worth getting. And the box set, they've come down in price.
Yeah.
But you can get them on Amazon. And if you have a Blu-ray player, also there's something else I should say. We did 5 single disc, what we called movie versions, where they put in Best of Both Worlds, Redemption 1 and 2, Unification, Chain of Command, and All Good Things. They did single discs of each. And we did additional documentaries on each one, half-hour documentaries. Like I interviewed Ronnie Cox, who played Captain Jellicoe. And unfortunately, though you can only get those documentaries on the single disc, but they're cheap to get. And there's audio commentaries and deleted scenes. And if you like Star Trek: The Next Generation, if I do say so myself, the work that went into the special features on all of the Next Generation Blu-rays. By the way, the shows themselves are astonishing to look at.
They look amazing.
The restoration, it's the greatest restoration. I had nothing to do with the restoration of the episodes. I just marveled at them when we would get them when they would finish, because they were a little.
Yeah, but you were responsible for us getting the extended cut of that one episode.
That is true. Measure of a Man. Yeah, in HD.
I have one other question for you. I'm sorry to cut you off, sir.
No, not at all.
Did you talk with Anthony Montgomery of Enterprise?
Yeah.
He and I are from the same hometown, Indianapolis. And I hired him. I'm a director for local corporate video. I hired him for a grocery store commercial.
Oh, really?
And I forget what year that was.
Oh yeah,
that on YouTube.
I have to tell you, the cast of Enterprise was delightful. To hang out with them, I had met some of them before, but they were the nicest people, and we didn't even know whether we were going to be able to get Jolene Blaylock. She came in and did the work. I mean, Roger interviewed her, and she came in and did it. Everybody was. Dominic Keating's hilarious. He's a horn dog, that one. He's hilarious to hang out with. But everybody was so nice. Scott Bakula, I'd actually interviewed him. Some friends of mine made a movie that he was in, so I'd interviewed him before. But everybody was great. And Brandon Braga, I think, saw the whole idea of doing these documentaries as sort of his apology tour. So he was incredibly supportive and gave a lot of his time to make sure the documentaries happened on Enterprise. And it was a lot of fun to work on. I mean, as I said, 3 years of my life I spent working on these documentaries, and it was a lot of fun. And we pretty much had carte blanche to do whatever we wanted. CBS was like, "This is great," and I have to say, let me just say that working for CBS on these documentaries was a dream. I loved working for CBS. Ken Ross, everybody at CBS Home Entertainment, the people that we work with were fantastic. And they cared about Star Trek. They wanted us to do the best job we could. They painstakingly paid for and restored the shows. They did such a good job on working on these. I have nothing but praise for everybody at CBS, and that's not me sucking up. I mean, I had an incredible experience all the way around working on those Star Trek: The Next Generation blues and the Enterprise blues, because they spared no expense. And unfortunately, they didn't do nearly as well as they'd hoped, because physical media started its long decline and streaming started to really climb where it is now. And the fan base who's bought these things so many different times had no real idea how much of an upgrade the Next Generation Blu-rays really were. The HD restoration of TNG is astonishing, especially if you go back and you look at the original versions.
is there a way to reach you online? Because I'm seeing 3 different box sets for the series, and I want to make sure I get the right one.
You want the Blu-ray set of TNG, and I think Enterprise. I think there was only one set, right? It was just
there's one full series Enterprise Blu-ray set,
and then the TNG set. As long as it's the Blu-ray set, you should be good.
Yeah, and they're multi. There, if you get the British version,
I was going to say
they're region free. Like
they're actually a little cheaper, yeah.
Yeah, on I'm looking at on Amazon, and there's 2 different ones. There's the blue one that says Star Trek: The Complete Series Blu-ray.
Yeah.
And then there's the one below it, the green one, is the Amazon. That's the British version. They're the same. The
Exactly
British
the
version,
same, yeah.
as long as you get the Blu-rays. And I'm looking at $48. You're getting 178 episodes.
That's a hell of a lot cheaper than I paid. That's actually half of what I paid.
Yeah, the
$50 for the whole series of $6 Million Man.
Yeah,
this is crazy.
Yeah, so if you look at that Blu-ray set, make sure it's the Blu-ray set though. That is the British version, and that does have all of our special features on it.
Yeah, that's the one I got, but I actually paid a lot more for it then, and that was because the American version was much more, but that's come down way in price, and so is the other one. So,
green one?
I mean, $48, if you think about it, you're getting 178 episodes. Well, actually not, because the 2-parters are not split up, but
the only difference is it's just like they're the big chunky plastic cases, and they're in it's in a big shoebox.
Yes. But they're the same.
All right, excellent.
Yeah, the discs are all Paramount CBS Paramount releases. They're
I mean,
probably
it's really
identical.
interesting. If you look at this, season 1 on Blu-ray is $59. The season 1.
And I think that's where they shot themselves in the foot. I think I had this conversation with Bill too, and I know you got to go, Robert, but yeah, that they overpriced them, and people were waiting for the entire series to drop and not buy the seasons, and I think that's where they kind of.
I mean, what's crazy is the season 3 Blu-ray, which is arguably one of the best seasons of Next Generation, and it has great special features on it, is $13. So if anybody wants to get, and then they've got the individual, like the Unification Blu-ray they have is $9, but you can get, it's just so crazy to me that you get season 3 of Next Generation for $13.
Yeah, but you're still better off just getting the entire set.
Well, yeah, you got to get the entire, but
it's worth every penny. Even if you were paying twice that, it's worth every penny.
Yep. Oh, it is. It is. You'll get a kick out of that stuff. By the way, even the blooper reels, all the bloopers that you see online from TNG, all of those were the blooper reels that I edited. They would send me raw negative, and then I would pick them out and cut them together, and that was a lot of fun too. And I've said this before, but I'll tell you the coolest thing. When I got there, I had asked in the 3rd season. There's an episode called "The Most Toys."
Yep, I know.
And Saul Rubinek plays Kivas Fajo, the collector.
Yep.
Well, David Rappaport, the little person who was the leader of the Time Bandits, that was a role he played, was originally hired to play Kivas Fajo in that episode. And after shooting for 1 day, he tried to kill himself. He tried to take his life. And 3 months later, he was actually successful. He did kill himself. But that negative had never been seen before. So I started, because we were accessing the negative. So when I first started, I asked CBS, I'm like, hey, man, do you guys think you could find the negative? There was no SAG reports. Those are SAG, or actors from Screen Actors Guild. You have to do reports every day for actors that were on set. There were no production reports or SAG. That day, according to paperwork, did not exist. But I knew that they filmed for a day. So I asked them, because I asked CBS Digital, I'm like, can you guys look and see if you have this negative? Well, a couple months go by, and I get contacted. They're like, hey, Rob, you know that negative you looked for, wanted to find? We found it. And it's never been used. No one's ever looked at it. It's never even been opened. It's never been touched. And I said, I don't suppose I could get you to transfer it, could I? And they did. They didn't really know what it was. I don't think they knew what it was. So they transferred it to me, and I get a drive, as they would send over. I get a drive with all of the dailies from that day of David Rappaport filming. So I went in, and for the very first time ever, I edited brand new footage that nobody had ever seen before. It had never even been touched back when they shot it originally 30 years ago. And I edited it together. So the scenes, and I even went back in and because they shot like scenes of Rappaport on the view screen, like how you would see it on the bridge. And I even went in and comped. I did quick and dirty comps where I comped in his shots on the view screen from the actual episode. And of course, legal had to approve it. And I sent it in. My cut, I got to cut brand new next generation footage nobody had ever seen and nobody had ever touched from the day it was shot originally during the 3rd season. So I cut it together and I sent it to CBS. And the lawyer's like, "What is this?" They freaked out. And I explained what it was. And at first, they were not going to let it on the disc because they're pretty strict. And I said, "Look, man, this is the last footage that this actor ever shot. It's Star Trek The Next Generation footage no one has ever seen." And the makeup, Saul Rubinek is a tall guy. David Rappaport was a little person, so they had alien makeup and a costume nobody had ever seen before, and no one had ever seen David Rappaport's performance. So they actually contacted his next of kin, his family, and they cleared it with him. And they said, "Is it okay to put this footage on the disc?" And they said yes. And so CBS said, okay. And they put that footage on. It's on the 3rd season discs. And it's footage that I cut. So I can actually say, I keep forgetting when people say, "Do you ever actually work on Star Trek The Next Generation?" I'm like, well, not really. But there is one thing that I contributed to Star Trek history that I found from in addition to the extended version of Measure of a Man. But that was just my idea. I didn't actually do the work. But for the footage of the one day David Rappaport shot, I put it together and it's on those discs. And for that alone, if I was a Star Trek fan, I mean, I know it's not very long. It's like 5 minutes or something, or 10 minutes. But I think that alone was something that was worth having. I mean, that was the great thing about working on those projects, is that we could just do shit. We would just think it up and ask, and they didn't really understand what we were asking. Because, it'd be like if Star Trek fans were given keys to the kingdom. That's basically what Roger Lay and I were. We had access to everybody. It's like we called up Rick Berman. "Hey, can we come to your house and interview you?" And he's like, "Okay." And we did. I mean, it was incredible. It was incredible. And I don't know. I'm thinking about how much fun I had. That's why I want this show to be good. I really want Star Trek Picard to be good. But I really wish that there was some of the production team that worked on Next Generation. I wish, whether it was the Akutas or somebody came in to consult, or I don't know, some of the writers. It would have been nice if they did something like that, because you're watching this short trek and you're looking at the Utopia Planitia shipyards, and it's all ships from the Discovery era from 100 years ago. Literally, in Star Trek canon, why am I looking at Discovery era ships? Why isn't there any like Next Generation era ships or Star Trek Online era ships? Why am I looking
at different?
Man, I fucking On that note, I have to go.
I ordered my box set, so thank you.
There you go.
And report back. I can't wait to hear what you think.
All right.
We'll definitely have to get you guys
see what like
together
yesterday's
again.
Enterprise looks like on Blu-ray. Oh my god, it's so cool.
Oh, it's beautiful looking.
The most toys. No disrespect to anything you just said, but that's the episode that I had to leap past to get to Best of Both Worlds.
I know. Although it's a really interesting episode when you get to the end of that episode and what happens. Did Data kill somebody? It's like, I mean, he didn't, but did he? I don't know.
Did he? We
don't
know.
Yeah.
Data's Schrodinger cat.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, sir. It's always a pleasure to have you, and an honor, of course.
Well, thanks for
Mr.
having
Robert
me.
My Burnett. Check out the Burnett Work. That's where you can find him on, and the BurnettWork.net.
Yeah, the website. The website's pretty cool. So yeah,
I just wanted to make sure I said net.com because I knew it wasn't the other.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of cheeky and cool to have the BurnettWork.net.
Yeah,
Burnett. I don't know.
It works. All right. Well, thank you again, sir. We always appreciate you stopping by.
Well, it was great to be with you. Everybody new too. So nice to meet you guys.
My pleasure, Rob. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right, go forth and multiply.
Live long and prosper.
I'll see you guys later.
See you.
Take care. And the rookie critic made it rain earlier, like a bunch of dollars. So I think you got a strip now, Rob.
Oh boy.
Giggity.
And while we're on that note, we might as well catch up on some of these. We have, I think, a couple more. He sent us a few. And then Chief Cook sent us $4.99. The biggest mistake Gene did, he don't have the old crew meet the new crew, both working together in the first episode called Pass the Torch.
No.
No, they kind of want to differentiate that. Yeah.
Deranged Lunatic sent us $2. Great episode. I can listen to this panel all night. Well, I'm sure we would love to go all night, but I know Q Storm's not feeling the best, and we're going to probably get out of here soon anyhow, because we've been going for about 2 hours now, and you guys have been great hanging in there with us, even though we know there's a lot of choices right now on YouTube, but we do appreciate you hanging out here. So yeah, fellas, been pretty quiet, especially Big Sexy.
Well, let me ask you this. Q, your fanboy was in full mode there a moment ago.
Sure.
Did you order the set?
Yeah,
he said he did.
Yeah, I did. I've been meaning to do that for a couple of years, but I got busy and blah blah blah, and I couldn't determine which one was the right box set. So I'm glad I had the guy on.
And it's the green one, right?
I bought the green one.
So did I.
Just now?
Just now. I just grabbed it up.
Because if I can't get the Star Trek I'm going to get the Star Trek I want.
Whoa. Okay, we have dead air. Moving right along here.
Dead air, gentlemen. Boy.
You stupid dick.
All right. Tom? Do we lose Tom?
That's what it sounds like.
That is perfect.
See, and normally people complain about the soundboard.
Well, I want to hear another Patrick.
Oh, good for you.
Okay, I got one question. Let's do this.
What?
I have not seen this short Treks thing because I refuse to spend money on all access to get their shit together.
Oh, I'm sure there are ways to find it if you don't want to pay.
If you want to see
it.
If you want to see the short tracks on a daily basis, then you should motion yourself to a website.
But we don't condone any of that.
All right. No, I'm not condoning it.
But I'm not going to judge you if you do.
Yeah, I'm not going to judge you, but like I said, someone may upload them on daily by having the motion of their hands on the mouse. Doing buggies. And I always say that they expect they're so bad. I'm not going to pay them for it. Like I said, we don't condone piracy, but in this case,
well, they don't fucking deserve their money. Yeah, don't pay them money for the short treks. They are so bad. They're so insulting. It was, you've got. Not only is it such a juvenile way of portraying Star Trek, where you've got basically two girls beating the crap out of each other, but they actually have to go so brutal that
they draw blood.
Yeah, it was a brutal beatdown of these two kids. I'm like, I don't want to watch this in Star Trek. This doesn't make me feel better about the future. This makes me want to blow up the goddamn planet so we don't get there.
The one thing I'll say about the Tribbles short trek, which was a piece of garbage, at least, if I'm not mistaken, if I recall correctly, they deleted the scene that we saw in the trailer where there was this kid about to eat a Tribble.
No, that's at the end.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's at the end.
Oh Lord, I've seen all these people saying they bought the box set, just like SNAKE here with $2. Really sold that box set. I grabbed it up too. We really need an Amazon link.
Yeah.
We could have made a couple bucks.
The thing. Here's the thing, though, about that Tribble episode. Okay, they start out. They said, well, they reproduce slowly. So he mixes in human DNA, his own DNA, to speed up their reproductive cycle. Humans reproduce at a rate of once every 9 months. How is that speeding it up?
Yeah, it would have made more sense to mix it with a smaller animal.
Yes.
Rabbits.
Like a bunny, something known for breeding.
A mayfly.
Mice.
Yeah.
Well, but this isn't the first time we've seen stupid experiments on a Tribble. We saw that in that god-awful, wretched Star Trek Into Darkness, where they cured the solution for death with a Tribble.
Magic blood. Oh, I suppose.
Magic blood. Remember Amazing Spider-Man 2, Peter Parker's magic blood, remember?
Magic blood. Shit shooting in the sky and magic blood. That's the 2000s.
Are you guys gonna watch at least the first episode of Discovery season 3?
If I have to.
Yeah, maybe if I have to. Yeah. But luckily, that's not until spring. Everyone's still pushed back.
The excitement is off the charts. I got to tell you.
Andre's gonna make us watch it. You know that.
Andre's gonna. Well, see, that's the thing. I don't have to watch it from my channel. Because nobody cares. Nobody cares enough to click it. I can make a video about what John Boyega said on Instagram and get more views than fucking Star Trek.
Hey, who likes that show now? Who likes Discovery now? What's that?
Hateful little politically obsessed people that get on Twitter.
People who don't watch it.
Well, they watch it enough to know that they want to cosplay as it. People who want something so badly to belong to that they need to cosplay as it and go to the conventions.
Only people I know who watch it that actually like it are those who sit there and they convince themselves they like it.
Yeah, or
that's what it is.
It's not that bad. Oh, it's fine if you turn your brain off and don't think about it.
Well, I know it's not like old Trek, but
these are people that watch the Berman era Trek series, aren't they?
Not usually. No, they're like, oh, it's so boring. I can't even get through it. Oh my god, it's just an old white dude.
Like my son likes it. My son is 13. He likes
Discovery.
It disappoints me.
Is he old enough to watch it? Because there's like full-on Klingon rape and F-bombs and shit. So, just full disclosure.
Heads.
But I have introduced him to the better. He loves Next Generation. He watched DS9 with me on Netflix. He loved Voyager. So I'm looking at him like, like that Tina Fey commercial. How did you spring from someone I love?
He's too young to know better, maybe. I mean, my kid, he was, never into movies, but I at least got my taste of music into him, and then he likes some other crap that I'm just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, my son's
yeah, I don't know sometimes. Neon Visual sent us £2. The Fresh Prince of Dead Air. That's me. Well, I told you guys I'd BRB. So listen to me.
Like you said, I have to find Rue Britannia for British pounds. Dun, 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 dun,
I know we need to get different music or different sounds for wherever, and we need we brought that up.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna, when we get off here, I'm gonna go upstairs and turn that episode on, and let my wife and kid watch it. I just want to see their reaction.
Okay.
I just got to see their reaction.
You know what? Actually, you know who watches Star Trek Discovery? You know who watches Star Trek Discovery? People who say, and you'll find this all a lot on Twitter, well, I never seen the original, but this is the best Star Trek ever.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was suggesting. That's who I think watches it.
People who
but there's not enough of those people, and they're alienating the original fans. That's the problem, and I think they're proving it.
They're like Raylos. They're the nastiest people that I've ever encountered on social media. They're not intelligent. They're not courteous. They make up a bunch of bullshit. They do a lot of this. Oh well, here is the argument that I'm making up in my head about why I hate you. And they do all of these their little made up arguments, and they do their bullshit crap just to attack people, and then they have the nerve to go and play victim when you finally have enough of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then Hayden White just sent us a chat, not a super chat, but just a chat. I actually have a friend that likes it, and he is a Star Trek fan. It boggles my mind, and he still knows it has bad writing. I had a rant online yesterday with him about it. Well, these are the people, like I was talking about with the Ninja Turtle people, like with the Star Wars people, where they're just going to love it no matter. You could take a piece of crap,
Yep,
write
right.
Star Trek on it, tell them it's a Star Trek candy bar, and they would sit there and eat it and go, "Oh, this is amazing! This is the best candy bar I ever had."
Well, there's
knowing full well that it's a piece of shit.
There's another component to that too. I mean, there's people that have seen this before on Facebook, especially on Twitter. Well, if we don't support it, we don't get another Star Trek ever.
And how
again.
many times have I said this? Yeah, that's why every McDonald's in the world closed down the day the McLean failed. I remember that, don't you?
Oh yeah.
We'll never see McDonald's again, ever, because the McLean failed.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's like, you dumb idiots. It means we won't get this shit anymore. And I don't usually say stuff like that, and that was really stupid and childish of me. But my point is it just gets ridiculous when you hear people say that. It's like, well, if you don't support this, and that's what it is. It's this blind support of a franchise just because I support said franchise. I must support everything that comes out, no matter how bad it is. It's like, no. You have the right as a consumer to say, this sucks. I'm sending it back. Give me a new one, a better one. You know what I mean? That's your right as a consumer. That's what they have forgotten in Hollywood, is that we are the consumers in this matter. You know, I mean, I think it was just you the other day that was talking about that, Mecca. We're a consumer advocate group. That's what you were saying the Phantom Menace was, wasn't it?
Phantom Menace is a consumer advocate group. They say, oh, you're just a troll group. No. We're a consumer advocacy group. We stand for the rights of consumers, and we want better for everybody. And we don't tell you you can't like your garbage. Please like your garbage and leave us the fuck alone while the adults fix things, you know? Okay, children, go play Raylo, go cry and send JJ death threats. We're going to get this fixed for you. Shut up, leave us alone, let us do our thing.
No, but you want to see what you can do if you don't right the ship? You can take a franchise and send it spiraling down into a nosedive like they did Star Wars and like they've done Star Trek now.
Yeah, and we've been trying to tell them that this is how you fix it. They don't care though. They don't want to learn why or how to fix it. They just want to blame us. And I get so many people in my comments who are like, "Oh, why are you watching this if you hate it? Why can't you just leave it alone? Why are you making videos about something you don't like?" Because I'm trying to fix it for everybody. See, we need to watch it to critique it so we know what to suggest to improve it. Because I'm not just going in making this shit up, you know. And for people who get on my ass about, oh, you're just hating on Picard before you've seen it. Well, no, I'm hating on the pattern that we've seen that came forth from the last 2 years of Discovery with the same people behind the scenes, the same people in charge in production, writing, the same toxic culture in their production office, in the job site, right? That has been just churning out this crap, and they cater to a certain toxic demographic of people. And this is why I have to watch it and critique it so I can tell you exactly what's wrong with it. And well, the best thing that's wrong with it right now is we have, like I said, this toxic little group of people who want to go in and trash on the generation that came before and hate on the quote unquote old white dudes and just be completely disrespectful of anything because they're this entitled, bratty little demographic of people that don't understand. You have to work for things. You have to
the participation. The participation ribbon generation.
Exactly.
And Mitha brings up a good point here. Brand loyalty is a very real issue. I wonder how much of the few people that watch Doctor Who, Star Wars, Star Trek Discovery, Batwoman, etc. are exactly that. Well, that's the other problem, is this generation has also been brought up to be brand loyalists. Have you not noticed how everything swings on that? And it's the easiest thing to do in this cancel culture. You don't like something, the first thing you go after is the brands. You know, and not only that, everybody, they have to have the Apple phone. They have to have this shoe. They have to have this clothing. They
Yes,
have to have,
yeah,
yeah, it's-
yet they have to preach to us. Yet they have to preach to us that, oh, you're just a bunch of old racist and sexist from with your Apple fucking phone, the clothes you got made for you in a goddamn sweatshop. Shut up. God damn it. Practice what you fucking preach or leave me the fuck alone. I'm tired of your shit.
Yeah.
I'm tired of them. I'm tired of these people. They're hypocritical little green fucking bastards, and they need to shut their fucking mouths and leave us alone.
The same generation that claims that they don't like they're not beholden to any corporation will identify as either an iPhone or an Android. That's the thing, yeah. And it's like, oh, you could, and you said about Star Wars. There was something about how there was a piece in Forbes about how Star Wars it hasn't even broken $1 billion yet, and it's probably not going to make as much money as Rogue One.
Yay!
Yay! Yeah, exactly. I would like to now. There is Q Storm and the Big Sexy. You're both sports fans, right?
Yes. Oh yes.
Oh yeah. You're familiar with the term "call for someone's head"?
Oh yes.
Right now, I am figuratively making that, doing the same. I am, like I have any power, I am calling publicly for the firing of Kathleen Kennedy. Like
I call for a vote of no confidence in Kathleen Kennedy.
No.
The franchise into the ground. We see diminishing returns. This movie hasn't even broken $1 billion yet. What it should be doing $2 billion.
But it outsold Endgame in pre-sales on tickets.
Kathleen Kennedy needs to be fired ASAP right now. Nothing else. I don't give a shit about the optics. I don't give a shit that she's a woman. I don't care. Fire the bitch's ass.
Give me her job. They want a woman in there so bad. Give me her fucking job. I'm just as competent as she is.
Why don't you share that thing, Mecca, of Boyega?
It's in the chat.
Is it?
Yes, go back. It's the
how much more evidence
that takes work.
Star Wars toy section at my local Walmart keeps shrinking by the day.
Oh, our good buddy Matt Deckard sent us something about the toys too. Let me find it.
Well, I said that I've been to a couple different Walmarts lately, and they don't even have a Star Wars section at a couple of them. I bet at anymore. It's all in the clearance aisle, like everything that was left.
Yeah,
yeah.
Kathy, there's your legacy, Kathy. I wanted a strong female character.
Okay, let's see.
Here's the John Boy, or not the John Boy.
I got it here.
Star Wars stuff. If you want to show that real quick.
I got it. Oh, I got the John Boyega thing up.
Yeah, I got the Star Wars clearance here.
Okay, hang on to that then.
It's right by a restroom.
Okay, give us some context on this Boyega thing.
Okay, so it's just John Boyega. It's an Instagram post that he sent out where he's basically just slicing the hater, the Raylos, driving over him with a scooter. Yeah, just giving it back to him, dancing it off. Yeah,
guys started out.
Guy's a legend. He's really cool. They're just going after him. These fucking Raylos, like we said, these are the actual toxic ones.
Yep.
Let me tell you, John Boyega. John Boyega is an okay. He seems like an okay guy. I never met the man personally.
That's the thing. That's what I was telling you. But yeah, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
What is that?
That's the new Star Wars thing they had out for this Christmas. That's the amount of new Star Wars stuff they had at most Walmarts, and they've kind of repurposed it now for other things. But they actually had it shoved into a smaller section, like pared down at one of the ones I was at, and then they moved it all to clearance.
Look, by the restroom.
Next to this looks like a grocery store clearance area too, because if you look at here, this is all like Christmas food, maybe.
Graham crackers.
Yeah, like all specialty Christmas holiday food.
Yeah,
baking items.
Rise of Skywalker was just such a horrible movie.
Yeah, it was such a waste. It was a waste. Everything they've done with these, they are given gold. They're given the license to print money with Star Wars and Star Trek, and what do they do with it?
It's too bad you took that down already, Mecca, because you know what's worse about that whole thing? Is that none of the employees and no customers asked for that standee. I know guys who make a living off of selling that kind of shit on eBay. I have never been so pissed in my entire life as my mother because I had all these stored up at her place and then she threw them away instead of telling me to come get them. I had like a big, huge Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull standee, a full-size stand-up Iron Man, a big, huge Hulk thing, all this stuff from the video stores. And she threw it all. Oh, I was like, Ma, do you realize how many hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars worth of stuff you just threw away? It's like, oh my God. That means nobody wants the damn thing. Nobody wants it.
Well, yeah, because it's Star Wars. It's like the stuff that they were throwing away at GameStop, where you would get those giant things. I had one for Yokai Watch for a while. It was like a giant
usually
metal
that stuff don't stick around long at Walmarts and stuff like that.
No, people
that
want them.
Speaks. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That speaks to the whole. I mean,
well, it's got stupid little pussy boy Kylo on the side.
Yeah, somebody.
Well, if an employee usually doesn't speak up for it first, then like a guy's like my buddy will come in and he'll scoop them up because that's what he loves these things because they sell. And it's just cardboard.
But see, for me, Star Wars still has some life in Mandalorian. That show is awesome to me.
Well, I hope that that we're seeing the new regime.
The Mandalorian Star Trek. You don't have anything going for Star Trek though. I'm hearing Star Trek.
We need a Mandalorian moment.
Can you guys confirm that? Is there a fourth?
No, there's no fourth movie.
It fell apart again?
No, they never had one. They just keep throwing out these little. Well, let's attach this guy to it. Let's ask this.
Okay, this guy. Okay, let's talk about this. This guy just did an interview, and in the interview itself, he says there's nothing set in stone. I think was his exact quote.
He has no script. He says I have to write one.
So this isn't even greenlit yet. And I'm sorry, I missed something. Alpha J did who apologize? Unless I missed a joke somewhere, I'm sorry. Nelson Sharita sent us $2, but they can't make Baby Yoda merchandise. Genius. They fucked up. Fucked up.
Kathleen Kennedy didn't want competing visions. That's just me saying that. I have no confirmation, but I mean, it makes sense that Mandalorian Baby Yoda was going to suck all the air out of the room for the Rise of Skywalker. It was going to be all about Baby Yoda, and so I could honestly picture Kathleen Kennedy. I don't want that green little turd taking away attention from Rey. You know,
and they can talk about like hiding the Baby Yoda thing for not wanting to get leak. What bullshit. They do it for every movie. They have everything ready ahead of time. You face the facts. Certain shit's going to leak out. If that was the case, then why weren't they so worried about where's the Rise of... Oh, there is no Rise of Skywalker merchandise. Sorry. Never mind.
That's because Rey doesn't need any merchandise.
No, I think it's because nobody... I really think that it's because their licensees did not want to take a chance on yet another failed Star Wars thing. Look at all this unsold Rose Ticos. I mean, who takes the loss on that? The stores, like Hasbro, they can't.
Well, this is exactly what we said was going to happen, is it not? Because I said this.
Getting merch for it.
Right after Solo died, this is exactly what we said was going to happen. You're not going to see hardly shit for any merchandise, and what you are going to see is normally going to be callback to the old stuff. The only new stuff, there's Mandalorian toys, but there's no Baby Yoda. But there is no line. I believe this has got to be the first time in history there has not been a toy line for a Star Wars movie. There was not a toy line for Rise of Skywalker. Unless they didn't do one for, I'm pretty sure they did one for episode 3.
But it's for kids. Oh, wait, wrong. But it's not for kids. It's aimed at the Twilight crowd. So who's it for, Kathy?
just put that picture.
It's for nobody. It's for nobody. That's the problem. Star Wars is for nobody anymore. Star Wars is for Raylos who don't like it anymore, who fucking hate Star Wars. Quote.
No, I fucking hate Star Wars. There's your audience. There you go. The unsold Rose Ticos.
Did you guys hear the audio of the Raylos losing it? Big Sexy or Q Storm?
No, I didn't. No.
Have you guys seen The Rise of Skywalker yet?
You know, I just saw it maybe 2 weeks ago, actually, finally.
I've seen it twice. Can you see that?
Did you like it?
What, Rise of Skywalker?
Yeah.
I just said it was a piece of shit.
Oh, but why did you see it twice?
Oh,
Well,
You got to make sure. That's what I saw twice.
No, that's a fair question. Fair, I can feel that one. I go see them. I work for myself, so my schedule is kind of relaxed.
Uh-huh.
I go see it on Friday morning, so I don't have to worry about getting shot in the theater. One, and I don't have to worry about talkers, and then I can do my reviews and get it out by the end of the day. The review by Saturday, and then my family wants to go see it.
Oh, okay, I got you.
You know.
All right, I got you.
I had to pick like every one of those god awful movies.
Let me see if I can share this right. Yeah, I don't want to share the video of this because this actually has the video on it, but we don't want to get in trouble for that.
Well, yeah. Well, it's been what, a month now, almost a month. Almost.
It's okay. They're already advertising the steel book.
I got to see this. What is it?
How well is that going to sell? Listen to this. So here it comes. Ready? Here it comes. Ready? This is the fans base they wanted, guys. There you go. Now look at what it says.
"4 years, we won.
We won.
What do we win?
They got Raylo. They got Raylo, but then it got taken away from them.
Listen. There you go. Listen. Here it comes.
That sounded like it was a room full of rhesus monkeys.
Yeah. Bunch of fucking bratty
Our
children
guess
need
is-
a good spanking.
Our guess is a group of girls from a high school or like a sorority, a group of Raylos went to see it together, right?
Yeah.
And that's what happened. And yeah. God,
Can I say one thing, guys? And I'm going to broach the topic of race. That thing pissed me the fuck off. Because it just proves that, I don't know if it's Kathleen Kennedy, Disney, Hollywood, they're not as woke as they think they are. Because you have, this is just my opinion, guys. You feel free to, don't hold back. You have Kylo Ren, who, you want to talk about toxic masculinity, abused Rey, invaded her mental space, invaded her physical space, abused her, tortured her, all the stuff. And then you have Finn, who's running around, Rey, chasing the woman. I can say, guys, I feel chasing the white woman.
I knew it.
Do you realize what we've been saying lately about what they've done to Finn?
And I mean, let me be clear. I don't have a problem with that. But you know what I have a problem with?
What?
I'll see you again, my friend. Kisses him. He took a lightsaber up the ass for this woman.
Mm-hmm.
But the minute you get Kylo and Rey in a scene together where they're near each other, touching each other, oh, well, they have to fall in love. Fuck out of here.
Of course.
We've been saying they back of the bust Finn this entire trilogy. You had the best character with the most interesting backstory, and they would not allow him to have the love story. And if you believe the leaks, it's because they didn't think that other countries and certain parts of America could handle a interracial couple in a Star Wars movie.
That crowd I just heard, those monkeys, no, they couldn't have handled that.
No, they wouldn't have. You guys know story structure. You guys, I think we all
know how to craft a good story here. So you're going to introduce this black woman character in the third act of this trilogy. Okay. And you're going to put her with Finn and well, see, Kathleen is woke because she's got the two black actors talking about being stolen as child slaves. You could tie that back to the whole it's meta, right? Okay. But Finn doesn't get her. He doesn't want her.
Right.
He doesn't want Rose. He's still screaming after Ray. So if you're gonna be woke, then go all the fucking way.
No, you're bringing up the exact points that we've been bringing up for weeks now, and that is that they're a bunch of fucking hypocrites. They will preach and talk and act so high and mighty from their ivory towers about how woke they are, but when it comes down to it, they don't have the balls to actually do it. They made a big deal about being the first, gay couple on screen in Star Wars, and what was it? A quick kiss.
Yeah, fucking little bullshit.
That could be, guess what? Cut out anywhere it needed to be because it didn't affect the story in any way, shape, or form. But now, all those things you just brought up, that would affect the story. Poe and Finn even getting together would affect the story. So those things were never going to fucking happen. And this is why people always said I was crazy, but I went back to it a million times, and I said this before, and everybody thought I was full of shit. But I said it, and I still stand by it. The reason in Fantastic Four that they did not have Sue Storm be a black girl instead of being adopted like she is because there was no way they were going to let her and Mr. Fantastic get together and have an interracial couple on screen. It just wasn't going to happen. So the only way around it, and to still have a black member of the group in their eyes because they're stupid, was to do it that way. And it's the only thing that makes fucking sense to me because otherwise nothing else makes sense in any way, shape, or form if you think about it.
It's funny you brought that up, Tom, because about an hour ago someone brought up that we never want superhero movies to fail. I did want that one to fail.
I think everybody did, but I mean, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
And it's sad because it's like, oh, they act like, oh, we're so woke, we're so above it all, but you don't even stop to think of how hard Shatner had to fight just to get that kiss in that episode, even though it was a forced kiss.
Yeah. All right, troops, I got to step out. Thank you for having me as usual. I'll see you tomorrow.
Anyway, soon.
I'm right behind you, Big Sexy.
All right. And I'll see you tomorrow, Q. And gentlemen? Troops. Excuse me?
I was about to say, gentlemen, thank you for joining us, as always.
No. Pleasure's all mine. And I did watch the short trek just now through questionable means. And yeah, that was some bullshit.
Why would you do such a thing to yourself?
Well, I wanted to fit in,
That's like torture. I don't watch this shit. I quit. It
was bad.
To me, the short treks don't matter.
I hear when you bleach your eyes after watching something, it's not that painful.
Yeah.
So this is basically anesthesia for somebody who wants to bleach their eyes. Good to know.
Pretty much, yeah.
We need the more you know sound, Rob. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, I gotta find it.
Kids don't do this at home.
All right, guys. I'll see you.
But we appreciate it. Thank you so much for stopping in, Big Sexy.
Anytime.
And are you leaving too, Q Storm? Or are you sticking around?
I got about another 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think we're gonna wrap this up anyway. So we went on long enough, and I think it's been a great first week of the first year. We do have a super chat. Nelson Sharita again, or Sharetta. I probably said it wrong so many times. TOS, go ahead.
Oh, TOS Star Trek First Interracial Kiss. Who's woke? Yeah.
I didn't even see that when I brought that up. And that's the thing, and that's where I was saying earlier with Robert. It's like, it's so funny that you would think that they would have went and rode that woke train through Star Trek. Been like, oh, this show is so woke, let's make it even super woke. No, they went the opposite direction. It was like, what the fuck?
They weren't serious about it. It was just I don't know how to. It's just a patina, just a gloss. Just smoke mirrors. They weren't really dedicated to anything. They just ruined. They ruined Star Wars too.
I know, right? And I didn't care.
I was a Rose fan. I kind of liked her character. I think what they did with her with that Canto Bite bullshit was wasted time.
Well, before you even got to the last movie, they ruined Finn in the second film because Ryan didn't understand his character or take into consideration who his character was before. Because, okay, this guy just left the entire First Order. He's probably got a bounty on his head. And he's going to jump ship to save Rey.
Exactly.
I just... every little thing they've done since that moment on, and you had the perfect character to where you could explore this character. And it didn't matter that he was black. It mattered the fact that he was an interesting character because he used to be a stormtrooper. Who gives a crap if he's black, white, red, whatever color,
How interesting is that? You're right.
Exactly. That's my point. Like, who cares what color he is? He used to be a fucking stormtrooper. We've never had that before. That's what we wanted,
And there's no way you could be a stormtrooper being that much of a goof. Now, they did turn his character around in Rise of Skywalker. He was much more interesting, but still ultimately...
Yeah, but you gave him the token, and I don't know if you watch South Park or not, but they have this episode. They have this episode where a little black girl moves into town. So of course, Cartman sees it upon himself that he has to ship Token with her. And the kids finally figure out what he's up to and shit. And it's like they actually did this in Star Wars now. So does that make JJ the new Cartman? Because we used to call Ryan Johnson Cartman. Because he does act like Cartman. Yeah. And I think JJ's just as bad.
Well, you said Ryan didn't understand Finn's character. He didn't understand Luke Skywalker.
Ryan didn't understand anybody's story. I mean, that was just one example. But yeah. Oh, God, I had to say it.
Son of a... You suck!
So let's see, guys. We lost Star Wars. We've lost Star Trek. We lost Terminator. What else have we lost?
Well, James Bond's next.
Bond's next. Batman's probably not far off.
Predator. I couldn't get through that shit.
Oh, God, that last one was garbage. And I can't believe Sean Black, is that his name? Yeah, Sean Black had anything to do with that movie.
Why do I know that? He's a British director?
No, he's not British, but he was he punched up some dialogue and is in the original Predator, and then he went on to write he was a writer on Lethal Weapon, and then he directed Iron Man 3 and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and a few other things.
Shane Black.
Or Shane Black, that's it. Thank you. I knew I was saying it wrong. I'm like, that don't sound right.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Shane Black was the one who wrote and directed that. I'm like, what the fuck happened here? This guy actually makes good movies. What happened? And even if people, for those who don't like Iron Man 3, at least it was something different. I mean, that I can argue. But Neon Visual, 2 pounds. I love these multi-channel video casts. Yeah, we love to get as many guests as we can on here. And of course, Q Storm and the gang from the Red Shirt podcast are always welcome here. And we love to have them on. And it's been way too long. We need to get you back on again more. Well, we got Picard's coming up.
Well, I said I don't even know if I have it in me to produce the Red Shirts anymore because there's nothing. No one wants to hear about the good Star Trek episodes and series like Robert Burnett was talking about. No one. Well, I can't do a show on this Discovery bullshit. I can't.
Well, what the anti-trekker, Michael J. Crawford, the anti-trekker, what he's done is rather than make the focus on the new stuff, is he's been taking certain classic episodes and he's been telling people what he likes about them.
Right, and that's what like the Burnett work. He when he does his show, he does talk about new Trek, but he also has like Willow Yang who will send in. She's been reviewing all the classic Trek episodes, and he gets into that, and he just loves that.
So people still like the class.
There's an audience out there for it. You're just gonna have to reach out and find them, possibly.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's been even the Trek stuff on our channels is getting very little traction, which is just to show that there's no interest in the shows anymore. They've basically killed any momentum they had going into Picard. And I think another big thing that's going to hit them as hard as a rock, and I'm sorry for those in the audience who've heard me say this 5 times already, but Q Storm probably hasn't, is that I don't think a lot of people really realize this show is on CBS All Access. I've had to almost a daily basis. I have to tell people, no. Unless you live outside of the U.S., it's on CBS All Access.
Don't tell them. Don't tell them where to find it.
Well, no, but they
Don't
should
correct
know
them.
this.
No,
Well,
don't correct them. Don't correct them. Let them
And-
find out. Let them find out and be disappointed.
they're still going to be pissed either way, though, Mecca. That's the thing. It's
Good.
not
Let
like
them
me-
be. Let them be pissed at them. Say, look, it's not my job. You didn't do your the Star Trek didn't do their marketing.
Yeah, but I like being a thorn in their side too.
I wouldn't give them any free press. That's the thing. I don't want to give.
Well,
Star
no,
Trek
this is
any
where I'll
free
just
press.
see them on like their things, and they actually comment on it and stuff.
Well, still, I just don't answer and respond.
But
Let them
anyway.
think it. Let them think it and be disappointed, and let those ratings drop that first fucking week because fuck Alex Kurtzman's Star Trek.
Well, the thing I know also though, Mecca, and the reason I'm not worried about it because 9 out of 10 of those people, at least if not more, are not going to sign up for another service. We're gonna hit another thing here with the whole streaming thing, which I don't want to get down that rabbit hole.
Yeah,
Because we between
I'm
now
tired of streaming, sir. I'm tired of TV.
it's the new cable. Everybody's finally realizing
been
what we've
telling
been
people
saying
that
for
for
the last
years.
3 years. Yeah, that this is going to turn into cable, guys. We've been saying it. You guys can see it coming. A lot of you did. And that it's before you know it, you're going to be paying more for all these fucking streaming services than you were for cable. But now you can't get cable because nothing you want to watch is on cable anymore. It's all on these streaming services. So
I don't want to watch anything on the streaming either, though. That's the thing.
what was that, Q Storm?
I was just saying it's the bottled water syndrome. Water used to be free. Now we pay up to $4 a bottle for it.
Well, I'm actually, well, yeah, that's the thing. In some cases, yeah, that's the problem is it's overpriced. I don't mind paying like reasonable prices because at least then I hope it's, even if it's not from a freaking spring, I don't care about that. But as long as it's been filtered in some way, or I know it doesn't have some kind of organism in it anymore, or lead, I mean, that's the thing is we can't even trust our own water anymore from our government because,
No, we don't want to get into that.
I think it's on purpose. I think they did it on purpose so we have to buy bottled water.
You never know. Nestle's.
Well, we don't need an hour debate about bottled water.
No,
Point
that's
is,
what I'm
fuck
saying. I think I
TV.
just kind of,
Fuck
I think I
TV.
just, yeah, I think I just kind of figured that one out. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
point
pretty
is,
obvious.
fuck TV. This is the thing. People are always like, "Oh, well, what do you watch? Where do you watch TV? What do you watch TV when you watch it?" I don't. I try to avoid having to watch TV as much as possible. I do it for work when I have to, but it's a pain in the ass. There's nothing I want to watch.
Yeah, and I don't have cable, and outside of Amazon Prime, I pretty much have the two services.
I don't even have Amazon Prime.
Well, I do that because of for shipping mostly.
I don't even buy shit
watch
anymore. Like I don't even buy
So-
shit. I can't. I'm done buying.
Where
shit.
I live, I have to.
Well, yeah,
Make it-
but I'm done buying things. That's the
Make it
thing. If I don't need it, I'm not buying it anymore.
There's good stuff on TV now. I think we're in a renaissance now. It's just better
Certain things, yeah.
access.
I'm watching a salad vending machine right now.
What I like is we get basically movies.
Literally, I've been watching this guy's stuff. I'm literally watching a salad vending machine from Singapore.
Yeah, but you find goofy shit, Mecca. So that's not. I mean, I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying you
Because
have
TV
this knack.
sucks. No, because
Well,
TV
that I'm not arguing with. I don't have cable. I haven't had cable in years. And the last time I had cable was just because my dad was babysitting my kid for a few hours while I was working, and he had to have baseball. So he paid for it. I didn't watch the shit. And then as soon as he was done, I got rid of it. I have my few channels that I have, as I was saying. I got like, the Disney and the Netflix, which half the reason I keep Netflix around just because, like, for you, it's basically a business Netflix and stuff like that. Otherwise, I don't ever watch it. I haven't had time.
Yeah, I don't have time either. That's the thing. People, like if I didn't, here's the thing. If I didn't have a YouTube channel, I probably wouldn't even watch The Orville as much as I love it.
No, that's the thing.
I don't have time. Or
I watch more
it's
stuff I'd
Hulu.
rather not watch because I have to for the channel anymore. And that's because of the things that we've talked about in this whole entire period is that these things that we've loved for so long have turned to shit.
Mhm.
Like literal shit in front of our eyes.
It's like I love the Orville. I don't need it reminding me of how bad Star Trek is, though. Like, and that's what sucks. Like, I love watching it, but if I didn't do it for YouTube, I probably wouldn't. I would probably wait until after the whole series is done, because then I'd know at least okay, we get a conclusion. Because I really hate watching shows until after they're done anyway. Because look at Game of Thrones, for example. Like how bad they cuck that one up.
Yeah, they fucked that one pretty
You
bad.
never know with these shows. You can get invested in them for years, and then they just fuck them at the last minute.
Well, sports kind of has in some ways, but the other problem you have with Sports Alpha J is the licensing deals with the blackouts and all kinds of other bullshit that gets really, really complicated. So until a lot of that stuff's kind of cleared up, I mean, I know CBS, that's one of the few things I think that they bank on is they do get to carry a lot of their sports. And I think even Fox might have been carrying some of their stuff through some of their services and stuff. And of course, you got ESPN now and all that kind of crap through, I mean, that's a Disney service, but still, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so I mean, we need to wrap this up though, because Q Storm needs to go, and I'm sure everybody needs to get rolling and do their own things. So we want to thank everybody for joining us, as far as the audience out there listening, and of course all our guests with us here today. I'm going to try and get the link up to the Red Shirt Podcast YouTube channel here, so you guys can head on over there and subscribe.
Yes.
What the hell was that, Rob, before that?
That's really not necessary.
Well, of course not.
51.
51 what?
I like big Asian butts, and I cannot lie.
If I had 51 Asian butts, then I guess I wouldn't. I don't know. I'm trying to find. Is it under the Red Shirts or is it Red Shirts? I got it in my thing here, but.
Oh, my
oh, there it is. I found it. Never mind. I got it.
Was that I like big Asian butts?
Yes.
I think that's what it's supposed to be saying.
Oh,
yes.
But I fully support that.
Who doesn't?
I like big Asian butts, and I cannot lie.
Is it Asian or Haitian, is he saying?
Asian.
Either way. Either way.
Either way.
I love little girls. They make me feel so good. I love little girls. They make me feel so bad.
That's the Shakespearean actor we were just talking about with Mr. Burnett.
Why don't I go
Why? I don't believe Picard's going to be good.
I just know it's not going to be good. What are you, great? Come on.
No. Well, people are like, "Oh, but you haven't seen it yet." Yeah, but I'm not a dumbass.
Did you see the interview with him though? Before we go,
all of them? Yeah, I've seen a million of them.
No, the one with was it? It wasn't Variety. With all the red background and everything, where he's barely able to stand and shit. They got him standing there and crap. He even makes a joke about not even being able to bend over anymore. It's like, oh my God, he is so old. And they're making him do this shit. Yeah, he's in his 80s.
That's another thing. As much as I love William Shatner, I don't want to see him play Captain Kirk anymore. It's in the past. I can let it go. That's another thing. He's too old to be doing this.
And for the people who say, "Oh, only Harrison Ford could be Indiana Jones," I'm like, do you really want to see Indiana Jones in his 80s?
I'm okay with all having just the 3 Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah, I mean, either that or I don't care. Do it a James Bond, but just like with James Bond, like I keep suggesting, just
do a different character. No, you've got 3 Indiana Jones movies. That's good enough. That's all anybody needs. We can go on to the next franchise. Make something new.
Well, and I only say that because Bond was able to work for so many years.
Yeah, but Bond was a different type of franchise. And Indiana Jones was 3 movies in the 80s.
You could do it if you did it right. That's the thing.
Yeah, but you shouldn't. You just shouldn't.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but
but you really shouldn't do another.
If you got like Chris Pratt or somebody like that,
it doesn't matter. Just let it go. This is another reboot. This is another remake. This is another reimagining. This is another recasting.
Tom, the only thing I say to that is they tried it with another classic Harrison Ford character, Han Solo.
Mm-hmm. Just let it go.
It would have worked better if they actually hired the kid everybody said they should have.
It still would have been somebody else playing Han Solo, though.
Yeah, but I think everybody would have accepted it better.
Yes, and that someone would have been a toxic man, Becca. Don't you know that?
And they got to get Jonathan Kasdan. Oh, that's one thing we didn't bring up. Fucking Willow's finally into production, I guess. And I was all cool and happy and giddy about that because I knew Ron Howard was working on it. But little did I know Jonathan fucking Kasdan was writing at least the first episode anyway.
Oh, is that the guy responsible for Pan Lando?
Fuck yes.
Okay.
So we're going to have Pan Willow.
Well, he did trash Kathleen Kennedy, though. I think I never like
kill Q Storm before the show's out. Sorry about that.
I'm glad I have no attachment to Willow. So if they're gonna fucking,
I do. So I'm like really upset about that because I was so happy when we heard that Ron Howard was involved, And so I'm really hoping he's a lot more involved than we know, and this is just a fluke.
I'm watching a guy in Malaysia make eggs.
I'm sorry.
I know, Mecca. All right. We'll get going here.
Everything's funny to me now.
All right.
Ooh,
Be sure to
eggs.
subscribe to the Red Shirt podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the network if you don't already.
Doesn't that look good?
I'm sorry.
Be sure to subscribe to Mecha Random and be sure to watch a guy in where? Malaysia make eggs.
Oh my God.
Oh, Lord.
This is my next podcast, just watching the cool street food and shit from Asia.
You know what would be good? If you're showing a video of them selling on the street scorpions with skewers stuck up their asses.
You know what I would watch? I would watch Mecha watch these videos and then attempt to try to make these things, and whether they succeed or not, it doesn't matter. It'd just be hilarious, I think. Especially if she has a hard time doing it and it sucks, because then she has the Mecha meltdown at the end where she just starts throwing the food all over. And you'll make $1 million freaking off them because they get 1 billion views, and it'll be worth it because you can hire maids to clean this shit up after you.
I wouldn't make scorpion things though. I don't like bugs.
Mecha does Anthony Bourdain, that kind of thing.
Well,
See,
yeah,
I wouldn't want to do the weird, gross food though, because
you almost have to screw it up on purpose because it'd be funnier that way.
Yeah, but I'm not that bad of a cook.
I know you're not. That's why I said on purpose. On purpose. It's a gimmick. It's a joke.
It's a metaphor.
No, I'm kidding. It's a metaphor. I can totally cook. You know how I cook? I pick up the phone and I dial Pizza Hut. I tell my phone.
Pizza. She's a fucking vegan.
Yeah, I get just plain cheese pizza with no cheese on it.
It's a metaphor. Should we have
bread? She's too skinny.
Should we have Stinky Cheese play us out?
Fuck no, I gotta redo that. It's getting too embarrassing at this point. If it was one thing I was playing at one time when I had 3 minutes to literally put it together in the time it took to fucking no, I gotta redo it. It's too embarrassing.
All right. Everybody, thank you for joining us. Q-Storm, thanks for joining us. Robert Burnett.
My pleasure.
Pleasure's all ours. Robert Burnett, thank you for joining us.
Bree, thanks for joining us.
Bree, thanks for joining us. Big Sexy, thanks for joining us wherever you are. Craig, you're not here, but you know, we gotta say hi to all the red shirts.
I guess this new Trek broke Craig so much he couldn't even talk about it.
I really think it did. I'm gonna have to do some bedside manner with him or something.
All right. Well,
we do got to get Craig on here. I think he's the only one I think we had him on once.
It's the accent. Everyone loves the accent.
Yeah, we love to have him on too.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Happy Friday. Take care of yourselves and each other. No drinking, no driving. Be safe out there. We'll catch you next time.
No hugging, no learning.
Old Man Picard for joining us. I never leave. I'm here all the time. They've got a little room for me.
I'm going to pat you on the butt.
Closet. It's a closet.
Actually, I put a mattress in the bathtub.
I like big Asian butts, and I cannot lie.
He thinks it's a full functioning room because it has, sink and toilet and all that. He don't care as long as he has his nurses.
Over.